Right, well, you can do the basic setup that I'm not supposed to be here.
What do you mean? You're not
supposed to, this ain't my podcast. Because I'm just saying, like, if there is any controversy about platforming people, it's not me. Can we just make this clear from the jump? No, I need people to be. I just need people clear. Do
you think we're gonna get heat for this?
I think we probably will. I shared. You told me who's coming on, and the person was rattled that they're coming on.
With that, you shared it with someone else.
I said, "Oh yeah, I'm doing a podcast with this kid from Big Brother who got kicked off," and they're like, "What?"
I'm George, I'm 23 years of age, and I'm a parish councillor from a small village in Essex.
Shock, horror, he might be a supporter of Nigel Farage.
I'm here to play devil's advocate, ruffle some feathers, and challenge people's way of thinking.
I don't want this comments like this to seep in and have an effect on me like that again. So I do think it's important I spoke to George.
You are a great energy of part of the house, so I do apologise to make you feel like this, and I'll take it on board.
He made comments which were interpreted as anti-Semitic.
I was kicked out for that line, asking a question. Last time I checked, this was a democracy. You are allowed to ask questions.
I think we've made it really clear that if we're going to talk to people like George Abaraonye, the Oxford Union kid, who got in trouble. You know, you saw the episode.
The one who was joking about Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, getting killed. And I said, if we're going to talk to him, we got to talk to the people on the right who get cancelled as well. Mm-hmm. That's my view, at least. I think that there is like a culture of broad intolerance at the moment, left and right. And I don't like that because I'm curious. I'm curious about what anyone has to say. Even what Steve Laws has to say, I'm curious to hear what he has to say.
No, I want Steve Laws to chat to me.
You want him to say? Okay, so you'll chat to Steve Laws, so you can't be that worried then.
Remember the light bulb moment where you thought to yourself, I'm racist?
Everywhere you go, it's just not England anymore. There's too many immigrants. That's the simple fact. And our people are being demographically replaced. This is our land, not theirs.
I only know him from a single tweet.
What was the tweet?
The tweet was him putting up the England 11 if there was no black people in it. If there's no black people, I'm like, fantastic, get him on. Get him on. I need to deep this guy.
Right. Man said, I'll put it on screen, but just for listeners, man put a fucking graphic out on Twitter, which was the England starting 11 with no black people. And he said, after remigration, do you know who he left in?
Who?
Tino Livramento.
Most British sounding surname I've heard.
Livramento.
Livramento is crazy.
He can stay. So Steve Laws, I assume, was against Brexit. He must have been against Brexit.
The maddest thing for me is that obviously I don't have to get into it, but like the fact that he thinks that those black people in the team have migrated to England.
Yeah, trust me, bro.
he thinks the British Empire is full of migration.
Right.
Like, oh, these British people have come over and they're running our land, they're running our policies, they're running our government. Let me migrate over to one of these colonies. Anyway, that's another conversation. But my point is, like, I think with Steve Laws...
We'll probably get into it today, to be honest.
Well, the thing with someone like Steve Laws is it's like, you know, that's a fringe person, or I guess people will think it's been mainstreamed now that you can say this like on Twitter and it's fine. But like, I mean, the thing about George is that like, I guess he is like that getting kicked off Big Brother was like a mainstream thing, and people will have opinions of that,
of course.
And then but to back up your point, and this is what I said to the person who was like a little bit concerned, is that firstly, even though I used to be on Late and Live, I used to do a lot of Big Brother stuff. I've literally didn't watch the last series. I had no idea what happened. Secondly, isn't he like 23?
23.
Yeah. So for me,
he's young, man.
It's like I you know, if he wants to say his opinions, I think it's almost my responsibility to be here and potentially check them.
Bro, 1 minute. The reason why I convened this together, Javan's on holiday for listeners. Wishing him well. He's on the beach right now. I'll put a little photo of him topless up.
Is it?
Yeah, bro. He's just vibing. Judging by the beach, it's giving Caribbean, but I'm not 100% certain.
Judging by the beach, what, you a geotagger?
I'm like, what is this? Rain. What is that? You know that guy?
Rainbow.
Where's that, do you reckon? If you had to look at, if you had to guess.
To be fair, you are kind of right there. I
it's
feel
giving
like
Caribbean, but it's very, maybe even look. What's this? He's
riding a motorbike. Bro.
He's riding a motorbike on the beach. It could be Africa,
brother. No.
Could be Africa.
Zoom in further. That could be Kenya, you know.
I think it could be Kenya as well, you know, because the beach is very sparse. Okay, I'm gonna
Wait, there's another picture there. Click on that picture.
That's just him and his missus, bro. They're just vibing out.
Oh, there's no.
Do you not think that they do? You know that theory, sibling or dating?
No, that's bordering on racist from you. That's bordering on racist from you.
Bro, are you joking? They look better similar.
Two black people.
Oh my days! You're trying to dig me.
We're 5 minutes in.
You're trying to cancel me. You're trying to cancel me first.
Your dark-skinned brother's gone on holiday and you're shopping this now already. He's been gone for 5 seconds. And you're trying to say he's going out with his sister. He's saying he's dating his sister.
You're a dickhead, bro. You're a dickhead. I'm cutting this out. I'm cutting this out. I'm cutting this out, man. I can't get allegations like this. You're crazy. I'll keep it in, man. We're free speech first. Yo, what was I saying?
Is that why that's why you swerved?
Swerved what?
You're kind.
Do you know what he's referencing here is because my middle name is Y Chong, Chinese name, but I don't go by it. My brothers have a Y name, so they've variations on the Y. So it is a family brand. But yeah, I got racially abused as a teenager, so I stopped using it. Is that okay with you?
I wasn't talking about your last name. I was talking about your dating preferences. Don't try and swerve.
Why for that? Why for that?
Why for that? What do you mean?
Well,
I know who you're wifing. Yeah, I know you're wifing that. I don't know
I'm wifing that. I'm wifing that. I'm saying, yo, hold on. I've dated all types of girl.
All right.
What? You don't believe me?
No, I'm just asking.
What do you want video? Do you want photo proof? I've dated all types of girls. Of course, bro. I've dated every type of girl.
That's actually one thing I seen this guy say.
Yes, and we're gonna bring it up. Is that he wants to date only gingers?
He wants to keep that shit alive, man. It's rare.
Interesting. He also said
he's an endangered species. I'm being dead serious. He's like a panda.
I'm gonna be real. Yeah. He said gingers are the rarest person in the world, but I don't think that's true.
I think it is.
Albino.
No, he didn't just say ginger. He said ginger with blue eyes, I think, specifically.
What, there's more gingers than blue eyes than albino people in the world?
I think what he's saying. I think actually he specified that, like, and by the way, I know this because you sent me a podcast with
Andrew Golds,
arguably my least favourite podcast.
But you want to talk to him as well?
I'll chat to Andrew Golds.
Yeah, we'll get one.
But like, I think blue eyes and ginger hair are quite weak.
Recessive alleles. Yeah. So you have to have the likelihood of that. If you literally have sex with anyone with dark hair or dark eyes, you're yeah, spread out. Yeah. But how come I've got a couple of ginger whiskers in my moustache? Mm-hmm. So what on?
MSG, innit?
MSG. Okay, yeah.
That's got to be racist.
That's got to be racist. Let's see how much shit we can say.
That's got to be racist.
Do you know what the way is to avoid getting cancelled for this episode? Is say so much cancelable shit that we're just like.
No, you actually have to cut that out.
No, I'm keeping that in, bro. Free speech first.
No, I'm gonna get a price on my head, bro.
Do you not think, because you're left of me? Look, people,
politically?
Yeah, but let me just intro you a little bit first, because I know everyone will know who you are anyway, but for people who don't, Jordan Stevens is multi-award winning artist.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
You ain't won no awards?
No. Bro, I'm being dead ass.
He's been no award winning.
I've won like a couple of awards, but the niche awards, like Youth Music Award, which was great, Grassroots Hero.
So you have won an award?
Grassroots Hero, yeah.
What about, did you ever win like
which is actually
a poetry competition as a kid?
Moments. Yeah, I won like a Bang Said the Gun trophy and an open mic in like 2010.
Multi-award winning.
Fair. But it
just not the awards you would have thought. Yeah. Well, look, you are a very big artist.
Yeah.
You're a good friend of mine.
I'm an award-losing artist. I love it.
An award-losing artist. I got the multi-award losing artist, Jordan Stevens. He's lost every award he's ever been up for.
Nearly.
I
won the broadcast award, to be fair. Actually, I'll tell you that. But it's group stuff. Me singularly, nah.
Well, look, people tend to lead on achievements, but obviously your biggest thing right now, and why I love you and why we become good friends, is that you're doing all this incredible activism work around young men and young people. Obviously, it's a cause dear to my heart as well, and that's kind of how we became friends, was thinking about these issues. And the reason why we're doing this episode today, and I'll say this to George when he does get here, is that we're trying to bridge divides here, and we're trying to have conversations across places where people can't, especially in the online world, right? We're all siphoned off. So that's why we're doing this. Secondly, Jay, me and you have become friends recently, and it's probably been my favourite thing about this year.
That's really sweet.
To be honest with you.
I agree.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
For you as well?
Yeah, because like you've been easier to become a friend than other people, which is interesting. And I guess because we have a shared curiosity. I don't think curiosity is actually, like, unfortunately quite a rare quality in a person these days.
People are killing off curiosity. It's easier to live and exist, I think, within the paradigms that you've created for yourself, because everything hangs consistency within that world, than to listen and to hear views that directly challenge your assumptions and your beliefs.
And also, I do respect you because I think you would challenge me.
Of course, and you challenge me as well. By the way, you know, you hold my feet to the fire from a progressive perspective. The point I was going to make by saying you are to the left of me, you know, you're a Green Party. You could argue.
I love Greens.
You're basically a Green. You could even say you're a Green activist. To be fair, you've been on Zach Polanski's podcast. I
wouldn't say I'm an activist, but like I like Zach a lot.
Yeah, you're boys with Zach as well.
That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I'd vote Green.
Fair enough. You and I think they're polling somewhere between 11 and 18 points in the polls at the moment. So it's a sizable chunk of the electorate as well. A lot of these people used to vote Labour. I know because basically it's about 50% of my friendship group are telling me that they're going to vote Green now, which is completely up to them. I respect them. Obviously, I'm not a Green. I still support the Labour Party despite all the trials and tribulations that have happened over the past year.
2 years.
And 2 years?
2-3 years.
Well, yeah, I see what you mean. There's a big dividing line, I guess, over the start from October 7th, I think, for a lot of, because I know you're a big pro-Palestinian activist as well.
Yes, but like I'd say I'd even frame it from my perspective as just kind of like anti-imperialism or...
Yeah, anti-colonialism.
Obviously these things are disputed, but like, you know, I don't... The reason why I think so many people like myself are engaged with being pro-Palestine or aligning ourselves with that part of the fight, or, you know, not agreeing with genocide.
By the way, I think it's a genocide as well, and I've said that. Been saying that since day dot.
I think it's like what is represented within that particular asymmetrical warfare is, for me, an echo of what many people experience day to day anyway, you know, and I think the whole thing is incredibly dishonourable, and I don't stand with just like, you know, it's just like, I don't know. So I think what my point is trying to say is like, I don't want to oversimplify my position by being like, yeah, I'm pro-Palestine, free Palestine, this kind of thing.
Therefore Green.
Yes, I will say that, and you'll find me in those places. But the reason as to why I feel that way is like, for me, like a much deeper ideological stance to do with fairness, honour, and values that I would want from the world, which I don't think are being showcased in terms of the Middle East right now at all. Yeah,
I mean, I think that's completely fair. I think you represent a lot of people on that front as well. I think in this country there aren't many single issue voters specifically just on foreign policy, but there are obviously communities, if we think about the Muslim community in particular, who will vote based on those lines, because that foreign policy is not just a question about what does the UK do with other countries. It's about, do I feel dignity and respect as a Muslim person within British society? And I understand where that thought comes from, but obviously how I would explain still being able to support Labour despite thinking what's happened in the Middle East is a genocide is that a government has to represent all people, and that includes the 20% of the country who don't think it's a genocide. And
why?
Because that's how governments work, that's how governments operate. Governments get voted in on a mandate to deliver a specific political project. If no political party at the last election were making a specific political project solely on the cause of what was going on in foreign policy, except maybe you could argue George Galloway's Workers' Party. The Greens had a specific position on this, but of course that wasn't their policy platform. Their policy platform was around the environment. For Labour's policy platform is about what they describe as equality and fairness for working people. And so that includes representing people from rural communities, let's say in the UK, or even deindustrialised communities, which have quite diverse, pluralistic views around foreign policy. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have a specific foreign policy position that is overtly against what's going on in the Middle East. That's possible. And I think the likelihood is, at the next election, any progressive option needs to have a better way of being able to deal with what's happened in Gaza.
Yeah, but they've done the opposite, so it doesn't make any sense.
What do you mean they've done the opposite?
If they were neutral,
then I'm not
you
saying,
could have some argument, but they're not. They're choosing the 20% of people who agree with the stance of Israel.
I agree.
But that's their overall stance.
Sure, and I think that there's a reason why they're doing that, right? Like, one of the reasons people could say,
money.
Well, it's America. America's the reason.
Yeah, money, power, bullying.
But it's
like geopolitically advantageous to side with the country that has the most power.
Absolutely, it's about what I would describe, what I call, and what experts
which is dishonourable,
describe strategic autonomy. So it's the notion that as a government, your responsibility first and foremost is about the protection of your citizens, right? So that means defence. It means laws, the rule of law in the realm.
But this has got nothing to do with our citizens.
No, well, foreign policy, we exist in a global infrastructure of different countries. That's just a fact of the world, right? So the reason why the UK has taken the actions that it has, it really just boils down to as simple as a question as who are our allies, America, and who's America's greatest ally?
That's the 51st state.
Israel. Exactly, it's the 51st state. Now, people are talking about the decoupling now between the UK and the US. This is fundamentally a disjuncture with British foreign policy since... I mean, you'd struggle to go back in time to think about the type. I mean, you could think about the American War of Independence, really. Like that's how far back we're talking. First World War, we got bailed out by America. The Second World War, we got bailed out by America. And then after that, well, it's just, that's just true, historically true. I mean, we did get bailed out by America. We would have lost the Second World War had there not been American intervention.
Sure.
So that makes the UK a vassal state as the way it has become. The UK economy, 25% of the UK economy is essentially tied to what happens in America. So there's this is just facts of the country that we live in that any government has to negotiate. And what we're talking about right now is this moment where people are considering what could the UK look like if it weren't to be in hock to what America has to do. Bearing in mind that America is the global hegemon, bearing in mind that British power has basically been a consequence of us being their little brother. We follow them to war. Now, I'm not saying that those things are right. I'm not saying that they're morally the most justifiable, but they're the state that we are currently in, and we have to negotiate a settlement that works beyond that. I'm not sure yet about what British strategic autonomy looks like without America, but I'm open to figuring out what it is because I'm so disgusted about what's happened in the Middle East. And I think a lot of people inside Labour are too. But the thing is that when you're a government, what do? You have to uphold the diplomatic line. You have to say the same things. I think privately, tons of people in that cabinet are disgusted by what's happened in the Middle East. But they can't say so because of all of the considerations that I've just outlined. Now, that is one of the fundamental disgusting things about politics is people think one thing and say another. And it feels inconsistent. It feels like they're lying to you because, in a way, they kind of are. And that's why I don't want to be a frontline politician. Because I'd rather just say what I think.
And yet, you take that into consideration and that doesn't tarnish your opinion on Labour.
Of course, mate.
But the point is that there are other politicians who'd be willing to say something.
Of course, and that is as is their right, and as is correct in a democracy.
So why do we not expect the same of Labour? Like I understand the idea of being reliant on America or whatever else, but the reality of the situation is massive economies, obviously not the same size as America or without the same attachment to America. Arguably, a lot of them in Europe, which is a whole other conversation. Took a stance against Israel very quickly. It's honourable, and they did that in unison. If there's no real to say that every single, I don't know how many countries, 100 other countries, and we'll be but we're scared of America.
No,
to me that's just anyway.
But look, the thing is, these things, it's not just a case of, well, this is the one position that we're going to choose, so X or so Y. There are multifaceted considerations involved. And of course, British foreign policy has now changed, right, compared to America, because the UK has moved to recognise Palestine as a state, which
but they did it. They did that as a weaponized leverage with Israel.
That's democracy.
No, but they said it. If you don't do this, we'll recognise Palestine. That's wild.
But that is how foreign policy happens.
So why do you have to put it in that context? Just recognise it.
Because that's
you don't have to do it as a threat.
Because everything
it implicitly acknowledges that they've consciously not done that because they didn't feel they need to, because there's no way of monetizing a support for Palestine.
I'm not disagreeing with you on
and also we have to acknowledge that this plays into a bigger discussion, a much quieter discussion that goes on with countries in the Middle East and the UAE.
Yeah, and Sudan. Yeah. And the genocide there.
Like the fact that you can talk about we can be led down the road of ideology and religion and whatever else. Meanwhile, Trump will be the face of some kind of fundamentalist Christian, perhaps even white nationalist outlook on life, and yet he'll never say a thing about Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, they'll never say anything
ever.
ever. They made jokes about, didn't they, about Khashoggi at the last visit from Mohammed bin Salman to the White House.
Yeah.
And now they meet with Al-Jalani, who used to be an Al-Qaeda commander. You know,
so one thing I will acknowledge is that you know there are just conversations and huge global shifts and conversations around a table that aren't recorded that are having huge impacts on what we see. And for me, like a fucking musician, author, part-time podcaster, that's going to be a lot for me to get my head around. And so I do recognise that, but it doesn't change the fact that I think they're dickheads.
George Gilbert, thank you very much for joining us today on What's Left. How are you, my man?
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
Bit of stress getting here, but that's just it. Country's full up. Too many people on the roads, isn't there?
He's already started.
That was quick.
He's already started.
Too many immigrants,
George, I need to let me.
Oh my God.
I'm joking.
George.
God, loosen up a bit.
This is why you got yourself in trouble, isn't it?
Well,
I don't actually know too much. Freddie's been filling me in of. I actually do you. So you said when we just met, then you said you recognise me from what?
I used to be on the acting hamster wheel, and I was on different modelling agencies' books. I had an acting agent, all that, and I was in Jade Thirlwall's "Angel of My Dreams" video.
Oh my God!
No way!
That's crazy.
I think I was the only male there.
Yeah, right. Which bit?
I was one of the angels that danced, like not dancing because I wasn't. They had dancers there, and then they had some background.
It was in Woolwich or in whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember now.
That's nuts.
Greenwich,
you did
but yeah, you were there, and
I was taking pictures.
Yeah.
When was this?
Like last year.
Yeah, it was, I think last April.
Last
Like
April.
that.
So you're an actor as well, by.
I think my chances of that industry are gone now because, let's be honest, in that industry you can't have conservative views.
Right.
From what
Is that what you
I've
think?
seen.
In acting.
Yeah, I don't know how many outspoken conservatives are actors.
I could name you a couple.
Go on then.
Well, I don't want to because it would like.
So they're not outspoken.
Because it's
They're not.
They are
it's
outspoken.
against the
I just can't be
quo.
asked that. I just
say
know a
their
lot
name.
of. It's just for me. It's a socio-political thing. It's not like a general political thing. It's like I have my own.
What, as in they come from a upper class background?
No, it's just
because I can't think of one Hollywood actor that says vote Trump, guys. But at a Kamala Harris rally, you got Eminem there, Lady Gaga, all of them saying,
I would. Well, okay, if I was to make a broader point, I would argue that a lot of conservatives, especially nowadays, more populist stances are almost antithetical to the creative process. It doesn't seem to be like a particularly like a big pool of people who really love the creative spirit. If we talk about like obviously the last Tory government spent 15 years squeezing like all of the creative arts in our country and then wondering why people had nowhere to outlet how they feel. You're not exactly going to breed a bunch of Tory voters, are you, from that?
But for instance, I'm someone who considers myself creative and holds some small c conservative views. I wouldn't vote Conservative Party. And since leaving Big Brother or being booted out of Big Brother, I still have an acting agent, and they've still been putting me forward to different opportunities.
Oh, that's good.
So
you haven't been fully cancelled?
Well, you say that. One was a Tesco commercial, and I was penciled, which means shortlisted. They liked the look of me. I had the face that fit the role. Anyway, when they penciled me, my agent got in touch. Oh, what do you need from George? Do you need his measurements? Do you need his availability? And they replied, oh, we've just seen a BBC article saying George has been thrown off of the Big Brother house. We don't want to proceed his application, if you like.
I'm just going to go ahead and say that I don't think that's specific to conservative views. Okay, actually, I can give you some examples. There were supporters of Trump in the creative world. Lil Wayne, 50 Cent. These were active Trump supporters.
50 Cent wasn't really. He was critical of Biden's economic policies, but
because he was trying to tax him.
But when he was pressed upon it, 50 Cent actually said, "Guys, I don't like Trump. I'm just saying Biden isn't." Yeah. So and Lil Wayne,
but that is small c conservative, though, isn't it? So just to want lower levels of taxation. That's quite
true.
Small c conservative.
I understand what you mean about actors, but I think those conversations might happen in private. But my point is, there's an ilk of acting that comes with a massive class divide. And if they do have those small c views, they don't need to. And also, actors, by the way, are inherently quite quiet. I understand what you're saying because you see actors step out of that quietness to talk about left-leaning policies. But my argument is because they don't actually have as much power. And if I talk about, let's say, Palestine, people who have been outspoken on Palestine have fundamentally lost jobs. They've lost jobs, they've lost money, they've lost leverage, they've lost followings, they've lost opportunities. I've literally, that's not like a. I think
that's why most people.
I've
I've spoken to many artists off the record who've said that they don't want to say anything publicly.
Yeah, because they've lost agencies.
About being seen to be political.
You're a musician. I guess you would have seen Glastonbury when Rod Stewart headlined. He said something.
He's a reform. He's pro-reform.
He said, "Let's give Nigel Farage a chance."
So wait, hold on. We've got another artist.
But he got booed for that. He got criticised in the papers.
But Glastonbury is literally the most liberal place on earth. I mean, what sort of expectation do you have?
But you guys can have a festival.
Or entertainment scene. There's a kind of.
I think you are right, by the way, that you guys are definitely a minority.
You have to be liberal.
Yeah, I think you are.
No, I don't think so.
So it makes people like me want to shut my mouth in fear of losing opportunities that I have now done because I was somewhat conservative on Big Brother.
But okay, let's talk about that because look, it's not trying to. Obviously, we've all got different views here. I'm pro Labour. Jordan's pro Green. You're reform.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'm critical of certain.
You're a parish councillor, so you're not political.
I was, but even that, I had a few people supportive of me, but I don't want to be around people I dislike, to be honest, Freddie.
Really?
And people were very nasty to me. People I consider friends were saying, that they sought legal action to try and
oust me.
Yeah, right. Unsuccessful.
From your parish.
My parish councillors.
Yeah.
So parish councillors, am I right in saying, aren't political?
Yeah, some are, but in my parish it's non-partisan.
And you're from Essex. You're from Essex. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah,
but then
cool.
some Essex parish councillors do belong to a party. I didn't know.
So let's talk about you. So you say you've got small C conservative views.
Yeah.
You got booted out Big Brother. The narrative, I would say, in the mainstream media was that there were comments that you were made that were anti-Semitic. That was the allegation, right?
Yeah, that's what they said. I disagree.
And there was also some issues around.
You can't disagree with the fact they were.
Which one?
I think the one that wasn't aired. I've only seen my references. It was obviously.
So let me just lay it out. Let me just lay it out. So I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong because I don't want to get it. It's
just like definitively. I understand what your point is too, but I'm just saying definitively. You can understand why.
So you said, am I right? It wasn't. It's on the day one. You said Hitler has some good in him and has some bad in him.
I said he was misguided.
On day one, bro. Crazy.
But what I said,
brother, you're such a contrarian.
No, that's not why he got kicked out.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm explaining just how because there was things happened in sequence, right? That happened. There was something around. I've got a note.
Shall I say?
There was a try. I just want to make sure that I got it right first because I want to show that we're not here to like try and trip you up or whatever. I want you to agree.
By the way, as a clarity, definitely not.
That's not why.
We have different views, but honestly, I'm not trying to do an ambush.
I thought that might be the stance you guys take, but
no, bro. We're here to have a conversation, man. It's chill, bro. It's chill.
You're 23, right? Yeah, man.
We're all gonna live in this country together, so we got.
We disagree, but I think it's important to have these conversations. I really do.
Kudos to you for that, because I'm the same.
Yeah, free speech, brother. So you said, there was a thing about trans with a fellow someone in the house who was trans. You got a warning around that?
No, I got a warning for something. They tried taking down the homophobic route. It wasn't trans.
Because you said you're too.
Yeah, this guy in there very effeminate, and I couldn't think of the word. It was a game of spin the bottle, and I had to say something bad about each and every housemate. And I said to this housemate, "You're very nah."
So what you're trying to
I should have
say
said you're very flamboyant or overly camp. But whatever I would have said, that person would have been offended. I'm damned if I do. I'm damned if I don't.
Let's just. I just want to get through it all first. Okay.
You could have. There's still more options other than that.
There were definitely more options in how you could have phrased that. You said that gay relationships were being rammed down the throat of people. Was that?
That's not something I was warned for, but
okay.
Again, that's a fact.
Okay, and then finally, the thing that you got, the final straw was. You were accused. There was an accusation of anti-Semitism because you said, and you were talking about
don't bring up again.
Jewish people. You said that because of the nature of anti-Semitism rearing its head over human history, that there was no smoke without fire. Is that correct?
I asked a question. I didn't make the statement. There's no smoke without fire.
Okay, you said, "Is there no smoke without fire?"
Is it a case of no smoke without
fire? So obviously,
after showing my appreciation to the Jewish contributions to British society, I made that clear because overall, my heart goes out to Jewish people. I've got on with all of them that I've met. They're all good people. They contribute. They're skilled. They're nice. They integrate well. But I just said because anti-Semitism has existed for millennia now, and some of the finest minds of human history, from Cicero to Shakespeare, Voltaire, Henry Ford, Roldo, they all had anti-Semitic tropes in their writing. So is it a case of no smoke without fire? And I think what they thought was I was making a statement as a rhetorical question, but I'm genuinely curious. I want answers. It was a question that I wanted an answer to, but because I wasn't provided a balanced counter argument from my housemates because they weren't clued up, it looked like I was preaching. Right. And that's why I think they've got the wrong end of the stick. But I was just asking a question.
So obviously no smoke without fire.
Oh, come on. That's no smoke without fire is just a phrase.
It's unfortunate.
Come on.
Nothing to do with that.
I mean, it's probably you couldn't have chosen a worse because of the connotations of the Holocaust.
Do you agree with what? Do you see what I'm trying to ask though?
Look.
Do you see that it is a bit weird how anti-Semitism has existed amongst the finest minds and over such a long period of time?
There's a perfectly obvious explanation for that, though.
Go on then.
Well, in-group, out-group bias, mate. Like, this kind of obvious Christian. If you talk about Judeo-Christian tradition, right? The polemics that there were post, the establishment of the church within the Roman Empire, because of a fact of theology, which was that Christians could not lend money, Jewish people were able to practice usury. And so it became a thing within an economy, within a system of governance, that people would practice money lending, and other communities couldn't do it themselves, but they would use these people. That's what the Merchant of Venice is all about, right? So the reason why Jewish people who were ghettoized in all of these places, in Venice, across Europe, there were pogroms throughout human history, was because these people had to protect themselves. They had to work together. They had to together. It was always been a deflectionary tactic of any government in a specific place and time where you have a multiplicity of people to say, when things are going wrong, well, what about those foreigners? What about those questionable foreigners with their weird practices? And don't they have a lot of money? And it's like, well, this is just a fact of human history, mate. Like that's the way things. I don't think Jews are to be blamed for the reasons why they've experienced multiple pogroms through human history. I think it's been not just an unfortunate, a tragedy. A serious tragedy about human civilizational behaviour, and I think that's kind of obvious, isn't it? You're quite a smart guy.
I don't know.
But you feel you're smarter than the Big Brother people.
To be honest, I do think a lot of it comes down to a question of jealousy, why people are anti-Semitic and have been throughout time, because they've got a lot of money. People are like, oh, I want a bit of that, and then they discriminate those groups. I think that's a very plausible reason.
But not all. By the way, not all Jews have a lot of money.
Yeah,
and not all Jews run the world. And people can talk.
But even that, people say Hollywood's run by Jews. Why are all these questions constantly being?
But there are a lot of Jewish
rising
people
to the
surface.
surface.
That's factual, no?
Yeah, that is factual. It doesn't mean they run the world or control everything.
No, I know, but
as the elders of Zion protocols,
you can see why
whatever.
certain anti-Semitic voices take that as they control the media, they control the narrative, they steer the status quo.
Yeah, of course. There's rational conversations to be had
because I want to root out these anti-Semitic theories, and to do that, the way isn't to cancel people like me asking those questions, it's to address the questions, having smart people like yourself providing valid answers. Now,
unfortunately for you though, George, is it's like, especially in something obviously on mainstream television, framing is incredibly important. I actually understand that, you're a young man, you're previously, before mad mainstream exposure or the constant scrutiny of social media, you'd be able to make these mistakes, and I mean the mistakes on the framing, not the curiosity, the framing, in a private scenario. You can get checked by somebody close to you, and then perhaps if it was on a more public space, you'd be able to angle your inquisition slightly better. That's all it is. I know for sure when I was your age, I said shit on my Twitter that was fucking wild, and it was just before there was a huge wave of like cancellation for it. I made loads of mistakes in terms of what I thought and said and did, the terminology I used, but fortunately it wasn't like that wasn't what my career was hinged on, because people at that time when we were figuring out social media, they had more tolerance. Nowadays, you're right, listen, we stand against this too. We understand that I think people should have a much bigger margin of error. There should be more openness to discourse, and I really do believe in people's capacity to grow and learn from mistakes. I really believe that. I'm anti-puritanical.
If you're the director of Big Brother, would you have thrown me out?
I actually didn't see. Well, it was confusing because you said this happened off screen, right?
They didn't air it.
They didn't air it.
I understand why they didn't air it personally. I think it's like.
Would you have thrown me out?
I think I don't know because I heard, obviously, like I said, I've watched your Andrew Gold interview and you explained there that it wasn't like a throw out of aggression. It was a They were by the book. They were going by the book, and you were confused, rightly. But you brought in there to have
contrarian views,
and then you were taken out
yeah.
for having contrarian views. It would be nice. It would have been nice if you could have been mentored or guided into an understanding rather than like shocked. But the reality is, in television, it is like you have funders, you got producers, you got insurance, you have loads of other elements that are deciding whether or not you can have that situation.
They could have just not aired it and kept me in there.
Yeah, they could have. Yeah, they could have.
That obviously was an option.
They might have got pressed. I don't know. All I know is that I think
if there was a leak then, and a story that George Gilbert said no smoke without fire about Jews, and then it was later revealed that they'd covered it up. That they'd covered it up. You can see how that would be a reputational damage to their brand.
You acknowledge that on the podcast. You said that you would understand that from a production perspective why they would have to, whether or not they agreed with it or not.
Well, I see how they've got to censor certain turns of phrase, maybe, but I don't think you should ever censor people asking questions. Yeah. Certainly in the current times we live in this country, where anti-Semitism is rife because of the Free Palestine Brigade, where people are Jewish kosher meat butchers are being vandalised. Jewish synagogues are being desecrated in certain areas.
There was a synagogue. There's a terrorist attack on a synagogue.
Exactly, this is what I mean. And so that means we need to root out these anti-Semitic theories. And the way to do that isn't to just suppress these voices, because that's when they bubble away and become radical. And actually, because I feel like I'm being pushed down that avenue in a way. Like, do you guys know Nick Fuentes?
Yeah, he's the most rabid anti-Semite in the world.
Yeah, he literally praises Hitler on live stream.
Racist. He's just straight racist.
Yeah, but because Charlie Kirk's been assassinated, and
he's
now
almost certainly gay. No, I'm being dead serious. No, of course it's not.
No, but it's been rammed down your throat.
Why are you bringing it up then?
Because he advocates. He would be openly homophobic. He's incredibly misogynist. Obviously
gay,
racist.
I don't think he'd be openly homophobic.
Unfortunately, I mean that is often the case.
I don't think he's gay.
It's there'll be like a deeply entrenched internalized self-hatred that manifests as misogyny and homophobia. It happens a lot, mate. Like, genuinely.
A lot of people think Andrew Tate's gay. A lot of people think Andrew Tate.
He's not with his brother, but like it's.
You think he's gay with his brother?
No. Don't mean gay with his brother. I think that's more.
Could you imagine? Didn't you just said that?
That's just like, no, I'm saying he's in love with. No, but I feel like a lot of that's a whole lot of conversation.
He lives with his brother, doesn't he?
Yeah, every day.
But they're like each other's only friends. They have no one else.
But look, let's not.
They were abused as children as well.
Let's not get too
waylaid.
Carry on with the point. So I was just saying, I was being hyperbolic. I was being a bit like, ooh, but
when moderate voices like Charlie Kirk vanish, a lot of people I know, I'd say he's very.
He was a moderate man.
That's fucking incredible.
I thought he saw the good in people. He wants the best in people. He wants people to feel
comfortable. He might have been heading a little more moderate
skin.
towards the end. No. He said some pretty inflammatory shit about black community.
I would say Charlie Kirk was fundamentally on the right. Like no questions asked me. I mean, if you think about where the Overton window was in the 2016 when he set up Turning Point, like, that guy was a fringe figure. That you can't say that's moderate. I mean, I'm not saying that he's the most extreme right ever. You just mentioned Nick Fuentes, and he's literally in the conversation now politically. But the idea that Charlie Kirk was a centrist, I mean, come on.
I didn't say centrist. I think moderate.
But that's what moderate implies.
No, it doesn't.
No, I think it means more lenient and forgiving.
He was a free speech absolutist, and he was a Christian.
Yeah,
and he did make that part of his message a lot of the time.
And I didn't agree with everything he said, but I think
he said a lot of incredibly damaging things, especially to the black community.
In your opinion?
No. Like, fundamentally, like, incorrect things. That's damaging. Like statistically incorrect. I mean, not like an opinion. Like he would say things as a fact. For example,
well, again, margin of error and all that. If you're an advocate of that, then
it removes for me the title of having someone who's just like moderate. If you're making like statistically inaccurate statements that have an implication to a society, to a portion of the community, your influence is becoming, that's not.
That's partisan. That's partisan.
But to finish my point, the takeaway, in my opinion, his moderate voice, then a lot of estranged young people like myself, like people I know, like people I've seen online, they are looking for an outlet to question these things. They're looking for someone to guide them through this swamp of politics. So we now some of us delve towards figures like Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes, Andrew Tate, and trust me, those guys are a lot more toxic to your lot than someone like Charlie Kirk. I think
they were.
I think this anti-fascist who killed Charlie Kirk has shot himself in the foot, because then who do I listen to now? Oh, let's try this Nick Fuentes guy.
Yeah,
and
I
then
think you are.
see
I
how
think
young
you are right.
people
I think
are.
you are right that it
Yeah.
radicalises people more, and that's why assassinations are fundamentally stupid.
Do you
thing
think
to
the left are more averse to discussion than the right?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I think parts of the left are. I think the left are quicker to, but the right, I would argue, are now adopting those tactics of the left. So what you would describe
they invented those tactics.
Those are liberal, like, I'm not gonna, we're gonna cancel you. Like, look at Trump's reaction to the Charlie Kirk stuff, right? Then JD Vance as well. If somebody has expressed joy or positive emotions around that, tell their work and get them cancelled. That's cancel culture.
Meanwhile, Carl Rittenhouse gets celebrated for shooting a man during a protest,
which is mad, right?
Like, yeah, I don't know that story very well.
Carl Rittenhouse,
a guy came in with a skateboard. And
he went to a BLM rally with an assault rifle.
I know the name. There was controversy there.
And then got
the controversy was that he was celebrated by the Conservatives
afterwards as a gun rights activist.
Yeah.
But was there some questions as to how much
the guy had a skateboard
or something?
The question
was there a question?
No, the question is they don't believe he should have been punished. They say it was an act of self-defense, and he was right. He was entitled to be able to murder somebody during a rally that he turned up to with a rifle.
Yeah,
that's
so. Could it have been self-defense?
Sure, but the guy had a skateboard. Can you kill someone if they come at you with a skateboard?
I don't think so, but I mean, I could kill you with a skateboard if I really tried.
Sure.
Should we try?
No, I hear it. I think.
Don't worry, that's episode 2.
I think it's this, but this is like a bigger conversation about like what you're prepared to do if you turn up anywhere with anything. You know what I mean?
But if you're going out with a knife, like a young man going out with a knife,
you're more likely.
The likelihood is you're more likely to use it, right?
Premeditated,
to find the situation.
But your stance is, correct me if I'm wrong here, like, you've clumsily attempted to break down like an incredibly topical conversation, and you feel as though as a young man you wish there'd been more openness and guidance rather than punishment and exile, because what would then happen, which I don't know if this happened with you, you'll be pushed more towards even more extreme views rather than be given a balanced another side, and you perhaps might go more towards the other way. Okay.
I can vouch for that. And I'm not saying I am watching Nick Fuentes night in, night out, or becoming some sort of radical, but I'm just saying a lot of people like me who, I mean, people are being cancelled left, right and centre in workplaces all across the nation, whether it's warehouses or offices. Now, those people who are losing their jobs for bringing up certain topics or being labelled misogynistic or anti-Semitic for asking questions, that is going to bully people into becoming more radical. So I think being more open and more...
No, I agree on that point. Me and Freddie agree on this. I am liberal in the sense, like in the literal sense, not necessarily also in the political sense, but just fundamentally in the sense of I am open to an opinion other than my own. The difficulty is, especially when the opinions become more extreme, there's certainly a fraction of the left who believe that it's insulting to even entertain the other opinion, and entertaining it in some way validates it, and then so you end up not platforming people, excluding people. And I'm confused about how I feel about that, because I'm sure there are some times where it can be of no benefit because no one is willing to have that conversation, but if someone is genuinely willing to be open, I will always converse. I've been told by Freddie that you are one of these people. I fucking hope you are, otherwise I don't know why we're having this conversation. But I've said this publicly, that is an issue for me with the left. I don't believe in being puritanical, in the idea of someone being wholly good. It's actually something towards what you were saying, but you said it with more extreme words. But I believe everybody has a capacity.
Hitler's got some good in him?
I believe everybody has a light and dark. I'm of the Jungian belief in the shadow self, and we have to
Hitler
integrate
had some good
it.
in him?
Listen.
I think
No. I think it's ridiculous to oversimplify. Like
he was just purely evil.
Yes or no? Did Hitler have some good in him?
No, he never. But
then you don't believe in the yin yang.
Yes, of course I do.
Well, so Hitler had some good in him.
I believe that.
Yes or no?
No, what's easier to say this?
I've done him.
You've not done me. It's. There's two things at play here, yeah? One is my philosophical standpoint, right? And two is me being baited into talking about somebody who is widely accepted as one of the most evil people to ever walk on the planet. To ever existed,
and
right?
is fundamental, probably is.
We understand that there were stepping stones towards the Holocaust, right, and the general Nazi rule. During that time, loads of Europe, which we'll talk about, were complicit. It would be, I think, naive of me to make a statement on a podcast, like I think it was naive of you to make a statement on a national TV show using him as an example of the balance between light and dark, just because he is literally quite exceptional. Exceptional. Yeah. I will comfortably say that, like, yes, the human spirit, like, as we are born, the majority of people who have ever existed have to contend with a light and dark side. And ultimately, if you don't deal with your dark side and integrate it into your being, I think you're more likely to end up just doing dark shit. You can make healthier choices knowing that you've got a dark side. You know what I'm saying?
And contemplating with it. Yeah. And I think that's perfect.
It's fun.
Can I also just say expertly negotiate?
I have to because it is fun to say the click. It's fun to do the shit like that. People have got. Will Smith got done for saying it. Will Smith got done for saying that. Even Hitler thought he woke up in the morning and thought he was doing a good thing.
He did though. That's the premise of what I'm saying.
I think he probably did.
From Hitler's perspective, he was a good guy. It's only from our perspective, where we know more about what happened, we consider him evil. So maybe I don't think he's.
But objectively, he is evil.
But on the whole,
everything he did was the most evil thing.
Killing 6 million Jews and 7 million people altogether, including the gypsies and all of that, that is not good, obviously. But I'm just saying, from his perspective, he thought he was the good guy.
If I'm to steel man it, right, like to make it even, to hit home even more to me, like,
you like that word, no?
I love the steel man thing because it's really important. Steel man. Did you know what this phrase meant? He explained it to me. To steel man an argument is to provide the opposing argument to my argument
in the strongest form.
Play devil's advocate.
So instead of straw manning someone's argument where you misrepresent it, steel manning is representing it as accurately as possible. So if I steel man your argument, it's trying to make it clear that I'm engaging in a good faith
debate. The hardest test for me, like you were just trying to put on me and you guys were saying, the hardest test for me to engage with my philosophy is actually talking more about King Leopold II, who murdered 10 million Congolese people.
More people died,
like, and not only murdered them, but like maimed them, punished them, stole them, impaled them, mutilated them, and laid the foundations for like the extraction of resources from Congo, like indefinitely. Like we still exist within that framework.
And he's not known by the mass populace. So he's kind of got away scot-free reputationally.
It's ridiculous.
Isn't that mad,
dude? For me, that's like arguably the worst ever.
You know, he never stepped foot in the Congo though. So it's just that dehumanization, because he didn't see these people and see what he was funding. Right. I think that's how he could justify it in his mind. That's the same with the Nazis.
100%.
Because it's that shift of accountability. Oh, I'm just following orders. I don't want to kill these Jews, but my Nazi boss has told me to. I'm just doing a job.
I guess the easiest way for me to say it is no, I do not believe that anybody is born evil. Other than a small proportion of psychopaths, sociopaths, maybe like 1%.
He was clearly a psychopath, though.
We should move out of this space anyway. We should get out because he's been in enough trouble with this shit already. He wants an acting career.
If I'm going down, you two are going with me.
No, we're good. As long as we all agree that King Leopold II is one of the worst people to ever walk the earth.
100%.
And yes, it is testing to have the idea that people are capable of both. But we've identified, can we all agree, there is a small section of people who might even be born without the capacity to be able to create a space for that good because of whatever, a neurological miswiring perhaps.
Can I just pick something up, George, because I think what you made was a really astute point around how radicalization works, right? So if people experience something negative, you experience something negative, right? Cancellation, got kicked off the show, you've had, I believe it was your job as a cleaner,
a couple of jobs
pulled.
now,
and so obviously there's a load of negative effects that you're experiencing now with regards to what's happened, and the people who are saying to you welcome with open arms, I would describe as the right-wing commentariat infrastructure of the communications world. So we got Dan Wootton, who got cancelled off GB News. We've got, who else have you been on? Andrew Gold got cancelled off BBC. He's got so it's this like world. There is a whole world of an ecosystem of people who are being fed what I would describe as this kind of anti-woke agenda is how they describe it, but anti-cancellation, where the people who are the speakers have all been cancelled themselves. Like the uniting thing is that they've rubbed up against what some people would describe as perhaps the consequences of their language or behaviour. And I would say that, would you say that actually, this is a question to you, because those people have been more open arms with, would their politics, do their more strongly capital C conservative politics become more I don't know, amenable to you? Do you feel more of a sense of closeness to them now because of your experiences?
Well, they gave me a voice at a time when I needed it most. But then when you got someone like Andrew Gold coming forward, at the time he had 600,000 YouTube subscribers. When people are reading The Sun article that told everyone that I was anti-Semitic, that looks like I was marching around doing a Nazi salute, shouting "Heil, you know who." So I wanted to do a podcast that was big, so that people could hear my side of the story and professionally made, but more so that it was him because he was Jewish. I've not actually said this in public, but I did a podcast a couple of days after I left the house by a guy called William Grande. He's got a podcast called Spill with Will. It's a very reality TV oriented podcast. He had me on the show. He just DM'd me, do you want to come on? And I want to come on to any podcast, right or left, hence why I'm here with you, Wokies. But I thought with this Spill with Will thing, that's very, very camp, the whole premise of that podcast. But I thought, I don't care. I want to talk.
You shouldn't care.
Because exactly. But that episode wasn't released.
Really?
He bottled it. He had me on, and then I suppose he thought, oh no, my fan base might not like it. And I mean, he hasn't officially said it's never going to come out, but at the time he said we need to get it while it's fresh and hot.
And
Fair
he
enough.
didn't release it.
And it's been about 2 months now. So the people on the left aren't giving me a platform to share my views. I've been, by and large, and that's a prime example.
Don't worry, we won't release this as well.
Well, I wouldn't surprise it.
I can't have fucking Hitler chat for a start.
Cut it at least. But all of a sudden, I'm being encouraged down this path of in your opinion, toxic
the only people who are welcoming you into the discussion. That is the leverage that the right have on the left.
That is the leverage
they have.
And you guys preach about tolerance all day long and inclusivity, but when it comes to tolerant, exactly, tolerant with people you disagree with, you all go quiet and scuttle off. I know, and that's what I don't like about the left.
But can I be clear that I think I have a lot of left-leaning friends, or whatever you call us, Wokies, who are similarly disagree with that stance. I really do believe that.
Me too.
Like it's.
I hope so.
They really do.
Then
because
democracy falls, doesn't it? If we
I agree.
So tribal.
I agree. We're going through it's like a pendulum swing, and both sides of the coin are adopting stances that were previously had from the other side. What's funny is you've come into what you call small c conservativeness, and the Conservatives, just for the record, I've adopted the exact angles that the left had when I was a kid. Like, so the idea of the speech being censored, that was what it was like to be a left-leaning person as a millennial boy. So it's wild to me, and also it's wildly wrong, because if I see somebody on stage outside Parliament with 100,000 people waving flags saying that he's being silenced, just intellectually that's dishonest, because there are many countries which Fred and I have spoken about in the United Kingdom much. There's many countries where the government literally would not let you speak. So there is no one's being silenced. It's just other people don't agree with you.
Tommy Robinson is a fraud and a criminal. He just is. That's factually the case.
His supporters, I don't agree with a lot of what he says. I think he's due a lot of credit, though. For instance, for whistleblowing the grooming gang scandal 10 years ago. Think of the thousands.
When you say whistleblow, what do you mean?
Well, he was talking about it. He was on, I think it was Good Morning Britain or something, and he was saying this is going on, and everyone's just calling him racist, Islamophobic. Think of the tens or maybe hundreds of thousands of young working class girls' lives it could have been saved if we just listened to him.
I think you've got to be careful about the numbers.
It wasn't hundreds of thousands.
Well,
can I say
if it's one girl's life, that's still enough.
Too many.
Yeah, that was just right. And you're right.
But you said earlier about being accurate. We've got to be accurate with you. I don't think you're the type of person who wants to inflame anything or.
No, but can I just say that prosecutions were happening at the time. It wasn't completely ignored.
No, but there was, and this is true. This is found in one of the reports. I think it was the J report. There was fear in some of these communities that prosecuting some grooming gangs, which were of men of Pakistani heritage, would be perceived to be racist, and that created inactivity. And I will agree, I'm not giving Tommy Robinson credit for this. I'll give the countless numbers of whistleblowers in the police force, activists, women's rights activists, people who worked in women's shelters, etc., credit for this, because those were the people in the front lines who were doing it.
The best way
but they exposed that, and that was an absolute blemish an awful fucking tragedy of the circumstances of being perceived to be in it like woke or whatever. That is not on. Like, if anyone is getting sexually assaulted, any child in this country is getting sexually assaulted, they, whatever background they come from, they deserve to be heard by the police, treated properly and protected. And what it actually uncovered more than anything was less a concern about racism, but how women and girls in social care are treated by the police forces. Because those girls were from broken homes, they were seen as troublemakers, and none of them were taken seriously.
No early signs.
That was more important. That classism and that misogyny was more of an indicator about why there was systematic covering up.
You have to
than the racism, in my view.
And then, if anything, I'd say I hear what you're saying in terms of like highlighting, but him being the person to highlight it would probably have worked against it ultimately because of the history that he brings with his opinion. He's obviously Islamophobic, and so to enter into a space where he's criticising like a specifically brown proportion, not necessarily Muslim, but brown proportion of society, there's going to be a hesitance from a particular part.
But this is where you're contradicting yourself, because 5 minutes ago you said you were pro free speech, but by saying, oh, it's come from Tommy Robinson, that means these connotations are attached. You're subjugating his freedom of speech.
I'm contextualising it. I'm not subjugating it.
No, but you're saying it's deemed less valuable because it's come from his mouth. It doesn't matter whose mouth it comes from. If it's a reasonable claim,
if it's true,
holds some weight, it should be addressed.
What we're
saying,
saying,
I don't care who it is.
Jordan's point is that
I'm saying
context matters, right? And that Tommy Robinson is obviously carries with it, given his history as a football hooligan, as a criminal, etc., a weight of people's expectations and understanding of who he is as a character.
I'm not disregarding the truth.
To the framing of the story. If Tommy Robinson cared so much about the grooming gangs, it shouldn't have been Tommy Robinson to be the mouthpiece of that story. Tommy Robinson should have been consulting privately, perhaps, with someone else who wasn't incumbent.
If it had been me that called it out, then I'd be labelled Islamophobic.
No, I'd say there's less chance.
There would have been.
I disagree, because you've got to ask yourself, why is Tommy Robinson Islamophobic? He has probably had a lot of life experiences growing up in high Islamic areas in Luton, and so he's probably seen a lot of. We know
his life story. Yeah, he has a context for his opinions.
There you go.
So doesn't make him right though.
Yeah, I know, but does it mean he's wrong?
No. What you're just to separate it. I'm not saying that like the highlighting what has now been revealed as like a blemish on the way in which a government or a council or whatever else dealt with like an incredibly damaging situation I'm not saying that in itself isn't true. I'm saying that we have to acknowledge that the messenger for such truths does count for something, and people are probably, I'd say that some people can damage the truth by being the ones delivering it based off of their past, of the context in which they're saying it. Like, do you believe in the idea of like of a proportion of a group signifying the entire
I don't believe in collective punishment,
right?
That's because
that's all I'm saying though.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I don't think you should say it devalues the point he's making just because of his background.
No, I think him saying it can damage the point. Yes, I do believe that.
Supposing I'm a police officer and I think, there's a black boy. He might have a knife on him because those 10 other people who had knives on them this morning were all black. But you call that racist. So why is it all right to do that against Tommy, but not for a police officer to stop and search a black boy? Because by and large, it's black boys who carry the most knives.
How am I doing that with Tommy? What do you mean?
Because you're saying him who you're assuming is anti-Islam, you're saying that his views...
He is anti-Islam.
No, he is.
He says it. But because he's anti-Islam, you're presuming that some of the claims he'd make would be exaggerated.
I'm saying that I don't think it's like an irrational stance to question the views of someone who's openly Islamophobic when the view inherently involves Islam.
Fair enough.
I'm saying it's more likely that I would believe, and I think many people would believe, somebody who has no bias, no historical bias. Yeah. The truth is the same regardless, and that is tough. But if I was to go around just believing like something that could potentially be true without contextualizing who's saying it and why they're saying it, then I think that would be quite a wild way to look at it.
Okay, fair enough. But do you think it's an irrational stance for a police officer to stop and search a black boy more than a white girl or a Chinese boy? Because per capita, black boys carry the most knives.
Would I be searching a black boy living in this particular area versus a black boy living in that particular area? That would shift it.
Yeah, the black boy thing is just an example. In Glasgow, all right, if they're stopping and searching white working class boys more.
Yeah, it'd probably be people in a poor area.
So is that an irrational thing for a police officer to do? Oh, he's a white working class boy. He might have a knife. Let's go and stop and search. Are you endorsing that?
No. I'm not saying a white.
There's a contradiction.
It's not a contradiction. I just gave it. Was just clear to you then. If there is an area of let's say Glasgow or London or whatever else that has a high proportion of stabbings, right? And then you can account for like time of night, you can account for like particular streets, you can account for all the research you've done on families or friends or whatever else, right? Then you can make more rational decisions. The issue with black boys and knife crime is that it's such a small population of black boys that commit knife crime, right? But because of the sensationalized element of news and history and films and TV that push the idea, police officers will fall into assuming or identifying a potential suspect based off of that the image in their head rather than the actual context in which the crime
Jordan's
is
not saying he's against stop and search either. He's saying the context matters.
I know, but for example, do you feel from what you've seen that like that stabbing is specifically a black boy issue?
No.
Right.
But from certain statistics that I won't be able to refer to in here and now
we'll
that I've seen,
leeway.
Is that is the group that commits those knife crimes the most.
So what? Why? Why do you think? Why do you think they do it?
It could be socio-economic problems.
Right.
It could be that.
I think you've nailed it.
Yeah. Well, it could.
I think you've nailed it right there. I think you've nailed it.
Yeah, but
so it's not to do with them being black. It's to do
no,
with
that's not what I'm saying.
them being poor.
Plus, the analogy I gave, there's a black boy, that means let's stop and search him because he might have a knife.
Yeah.
That's just an example.
You're asking if I would, you're saying, would I condemn a police officer who falls into the idea of assuming that there's a chance that somebody fits a profile?
Yeah.
Look, right. And I'm saying that, like, I understand what you're saying, but in an ideal world, that police officer would take more things into consideration than how a black boy looks.
Race,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just want to see how George feels about that, because I can see your process.
I think from what I've seen, young black boys are most suspected to be knife crime criminals.
Yeah.
And that's just pattern recognition. It's just from what I've seen. Maybe I've been indoctrinated by the media to think that way.
I think
but maybe it is true. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, I'm pro stop and search because I think if you've got nothing to hide, then why are you so alarmed when a police officer pulls up and asks to search you? If you're truly innocent, then
have you ever had it?
No,
you ever been
but if I did every single day of my life, I wouldn't have a problem because I don't carry a knife and I'm a good boy. That's the difference.
I don't know. Every day of your life, I wouldn't bug you.
It's an inconvenience, but at the end of the day, I appreciate they're trying to keep me and my fellow countrymen safe. If that's what they got to do, be my guest.
I would love to see that experiment, just for your own sake.
I don't know why. I see a lot of black people say, "Oh, it's so racist how we're being stopped and searched more," but I don't know why that's such a problem. The police are coming from a good place.
I think the problem is
if you've got nothing to hide, why should you have qualms at being stopped and searched? That's my style.
The issue is not about having anything to hide.
Yeah, it's
treated like a criminal without
having actually committed a crime. Also, the other thing you have to consider, George, is that I can understand why somebody in your position would inherently understand what you believe to be the good intentions of the police force. Unfortunately, for many black boys in this country specifically, that's not been the case. So the starting point isn't, oh, you're trying to protect me. It's actually, there'll be many experiences where they haven't. Like, just to give you an example here, like, and I know this will be frustrating to hear, but I've literally been like racially abused by the police before. When I'm a kid, I was about 16 years old, 17 years old, for no reason, by the way. I was on the beach drinking. Well, that's the reason. I had it, but like, you know, the process would be, you know, throw the drink away, whatever, go home, whatever. He started like saying loads of black vernacular to me, put me in the back of the car, threw me about, like assumed that I was an idiot, asked me what
were you a good little Timmy that you're making out? Were you giving him stick back? Were you being rowdy of any kind?
I was a teenager drinking on the beach.
Well, you got to look from his perspective.
Yeah, but why does he have to bring my race into it? Like, I didn't say anything about his race.
Yeah, no, I don't think he should denigrate you for being the colour you are.
Yeah,
but I don't think you're You're painting yourself out to be a lot more innocent than...
No, but my point is...
you can't really blame him because he probably gets it every single night.
I definitely can't blame him. Wait. I definitely can blame him. There's a difference between somebody going, stop being a little shit and drinking, go home, right? Which is something you might have experienced, right? If someone said to you and specifically highlighted that the hair colour of your hair, which you say, I think you said in the podcast, is like the rarest. You're like the rarest type of person.
It's true,
so if somebody every time was stopped specifically mentioned that you were ginger and used it in a discriminatory way, you wouldn't feel that was different to them just stopping you and punishing you. Like you would then start to think that there's a disregard for people with my hair colour within a particular force. So if they then stop me, my assumption isn't, oh, they're trying to help me. They stop me because they've assumed something of my identity.
Possibly.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I can meet you halfway at the fact that we shouldn't be discriminating against people for something they can't control appearance-wise.
Yeah, immutable characteristics.
Yeah.
I think we all agree with that.
I know you want to...
But I'm just trying, all I want to do is just contextualise for you, because again, I hear your point of view. It's just that for many people, they would have seen, literally, like in their experience, either their dads, like for me, my dad, like for a lot of people, their dads, their mums, their sisters, their brothers, unfairly, like people have had their houses raided for no reason, have had mistaken identity, all these kind of things. This is a whole thing that specifically affects the black community, because before we were born, George, it was overtly racist.
So has that not happened to white families?
No. Before we were born, it was overtly racist. Like if you're a black person in the 70s in London, you could literally be beaten up just for being black.
Okay, is that like that now?
No, it's not. But I'm saying that it can be. Yeah, of course. I in no way have shared the same experience as my dad, but I've had smidgens of it. And also, my dad's not going to say to me, "Hey, you know what, son? The police want to help you." Why would they be passing down those thoughts or those feelings? There's a consequence to having that attitude in the police force, and we're still feeling it now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But people were getting murdered in custody in the 90s. I was born in 92. You know, like, so I'm just saying there's. You might say it's irrational to distrust the police, but I'm saying that, like, if it is, it's a response to actual things that have happened. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that, and I just think we should acknowledge that they are coming from a good place. I know it's hard for you to see that. Yeah, well, you could say about anyone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the same thing. There'll be bad apple.
Yeah,
they
are. We
They
shouldn't defund them. We should always try and improve them. And 100%. I think since the 70s or 90s, we have come a long way, and the police are a lot more fair, in your opinion.
Yeah. Well, I think that, you know, Wayne Couzens, there's David Carrick.
I mean, the misogyny in police force is a whole.
I mean, they had, you know, mass rapist murderers in the police force. It's obviously, I'm not saying that to tarnish all police forces, as we've already made the case many times. A minority of bad people should not sully the entire plot. And I think your point is to talk about the mass. Yeah. Jordan's going to focus on that minority, and it's the same for you. The reverse happens in the case of the grooming gangs, for example.
All I'm wanting to do is just explain why your experience might be slightly disconnected from another experience, and why you would look at that and go, why are you being like that? And I'm just saying, this is why. Whether it's right or wrong is a different question, but this is certainly why.
Yeah, I agree.
And there'll be some situations where it can counter that narrative, and that's great, but there unfortunately will be situations where, I mean, I don't know what it takes to get into that force nowadays, but like,
not enough.
Some people abuse that power.
Yeah,
some people abuse that power.
Clearly. I mean, power attracts people who want to have power. You know, just for that reason.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Facts. George, I want to bring up something that Jordan highlighted, which was a comment that you made on Andrew Gold's podcast, which was about being ginger and wanting to be with, you know, ginger hair, blue eyes, it being the rarest, you know, one of the rarest
genetic
makeups. Yeah. So you said that you would want to be with a ginger partner with blue eyes.
No, I didn't. I said I want to be with someone who hopefully can carry those genes.
Okay, so it could be like a blonde person, for instance, or...
yeah, but I mean, if I've not found the right woman yet, if that right woman is Indian or Chinese or black or whatever, then so be it. I'm just saying, I feel it's somewhat of an obligation to carry on these genes because they're so rare.
I get it as well, because it's also like shared experience, right? Because if your kid looks different to you, and I know I had this thing with my dad because my dad's white, but it felt different experientially by not being a white kid, especially if I was like with my grandma, for instance, who's like a very old white woman. And I get the idea of wanting to have a feeling like, well, he couldn't guide me through the notion of being a mixed race child, right? For obvious reasons. So I understand where that comes from. I mean, what's your attitude broadly to relationships? Because I understand that you've been really upfront and honest about this, which might I say I actually really commend you on. It takes a lot of courage, I think, as a young man, to be upfront with the world about your experience of relationships. How did you find that like saying that out loud on television or whatever, it felt like you didn't really bat an eyelid. But like,
what about never having been in a relationship?
Yeah, never had. You haven't had a
never
kiss.
slept with anyone. Yeah. Well, I like the truth. Sue me. But I think, do you know what? I think a lot more men than they let on are virgins and stuff like that. But do you know what? Yeah. And I think that, I mean, I saw a study. I think it's something like 60%, I'll have to fact check that, but 60% of Gen Z men haven't had sex in the last year.
Yeah, I've heard something like that.
Why do you think that is?
Internet.
Yeah.
What, as in, what?
We used to go outside.
It's porn now.
We used to go outside, bro. We used to go outside.
We used to go to the pub.
Used to go to the pub.
Used to meet people with the opposite sex.
Yeah.
But do you think this hookup culture is good for young people? Because I don't. I think that.
Do you mean like casual sex? You mean?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I wouldn't mind sex before marriage, but I wouldn't ever sleep with someone I couldn't see myself marrying. If they're not mature enough to marry, then I don't.
You're
think...
entitled to feel that way.
Yeah, and you do.
Do you feel the same about kissing as well? Or
no, I'm a bit more lenient, I suppose, because it's not as severe. But I
think some people have different, they have different perceptions of sex. Like people have different perceptions of loads of things in life, and it's what works for the person. I think if somebody wants to have loads of sex, I think that's fine.
I think when people lack purpose, they distract themselves with pleasure, and we're also tied up in keeping up with our peers. Oh, I need to get a BMW. I need to wear Armani watches. I need to sleep with double-digit.
No,
women.
I agree. I think it's a massive thing.
You shouldn't be sleeping with people purely as like a, what do they call it?
Tick it off the list.
Not on the bedpost.
But I think
which I did when I was younger.
And I did as well. A lot of young men do that. I mean, I think it's just interesting to me, like, how has that been for you? Because has it affected your self-esteem at all?
No, I feel like I've got a bigger purpose in life, and I think that will just derail me. It just eliminates a bit of focus. So I think when you're young, the three things you've got most are youthfulness, energy, and focus. And when you're tied up in keeping up with what's cool, you lose those things.
Okay,
and
so
they should be used as investment capital, not as currency. We need to keep hold of our focus and energy and program ourselves to a meaningful goal, a purpose in life. And I think sleeping with umpteen different women, that's not actually going to do wonders. Sir Isaac Newton, he's one of the most accomplished British people in history. He died a virgin. Do you feel more accomplished as young men yourselves just because you've blown your beans up someone's muff? No, you don't. You shouldn't.
Blowing your beans is hilarious.
But I think that's the point. It doesn't actually matter who you sleep with, how many you sleep with. I'm looking at the bigger picture. I want to be remembered with a legacy, and sleeping with different women, that's not going to help me in that goal.
Maybe not you personally. I think for me, I've definitely had like a complicated relationship with sex for sure. But I don't think that. So there's a portion of sexual interaction I've had where I'm like, yeah, man, like in hindsight, kind of wish I hadn't done that, or I wish I had more faith in my energy. But to the same extent, there is, and I really mean this, there's a portion of like sexual like engagements I've had, like in sexual experiences rather I've had that have been really fucking interesting in terms of who the person is, why, where, conversations in and around it, what I've learnt about human beings and what we're capable of, like those kind of elements I find genuinely fascinating. And there's a period of my time of my life where being experimental and hedonistic was something that I was interested in, and now I've changed to that. I've kind of grown out of that and
got it out your system.
I mean, look, I don't know how good the idea of like everybody has to have loads of sex. Like I say, I'm really open and I really hear you when you say that for you personally, and for some people, that you think like, I don't want to waste my time trying to fulfill or balance these emotional engagements. I get that because you do have a sexual energy, and that energy should be, if I could talk to my younger self, I would have certainly said, be more concerned about who it is that you're engaging this energy with. There's some people I don't think it deserves the right word, but I don't think that I needed to exchange energy with. But my point is, there are some that I do think that was really cool, and I don't regret it. And I think it opened my mind up to certain parts of the world and people. And I learned a lot, genuinely, because
it's funny you talk about energy, actually, because I think with hookup culture and contraception, people are having sex, and for the first time in human history, really, only in the last 50 years since the pill was invented in about the 70s, was it? 60s?
Yeah, something like that.
And so we're sleeping with each other. So those hormones and that energy that should be attributed to raising a child, I think that energy is still there, but where does it go? I think also in the age of secularism, where we're moving away from religion, we're trying to seek these counterfeit religions, such as Free Palestine, Black Lives Matter, climate change.
Why do you think that's a religion?
Because it's people, like, you see a lot of young people now getting behind these movements somewhat irrationally, because you see on the ground journalists interviewing them. Oh, why do you believe in refugees welcome? Would you take some in your home? Oh, no, I don't want that. They don't actually know what they're protesting for. And I think, could it be because we've got
in the wake of religion? So I'm just trying to
No, I think as we moved away from religion, we've got to.
Are you religious, by the way?
I've been christened, but I don't go to church. I don't feel like I should.
So it's not a problem for you.
I think I've heard the trigonometry guy say this. So your point is that, like, in the space of what was formerly held by religion, people have chosen to kind of almost identify ideologically with movements.
Yeah. I think that's probably true. But
is it?
I think so. Yeah.
And
I think some people do. But
is it a problem for me?
Yeah, is it a problem?
Well, I don't engage in this hookup culture, so I don't really have that. I don't have that mama bear energy towards anything in particular.
Can I just Can I just make? Sorry, I want to respond to the sex point, but like,
I'm not saying about Free Palestine.
You slightly derailed me with the idea that, like, BLM and Free Palestine are, like, in place of religion.
Examples.
I think they serve the purpose of community. Firstly, it is an ideological worldview, so there is a morality attached to it. So there's a sense of, like, what people's, the sense of morals. That's what often a function of religion. It's not got the what I would describe as the very important transcendental part of it. So, like, connection with the divine. So that's the only thing that I wouldn't say is a religion.
Even in the same conversation.
But I think football, I think, is a religion.
But I don't.
For secular men.
Yeah.
I think.
But if football is much different, because there's, like, I guess in that extent that, there's a badge, there's a space in which to meet up with people. I get that, but the
I don't think BLM and Free Palestine I disagree with, but I mean the idea of, like, a very stringent climate activist, for instance.
Climate activist, I just find it so bizarre.
I think it's almost a type of secular religion.
Yeah.
Can I just say that it's interesting you talk about on the this is another issue that the left have made, is that this kind of, like, on the street interviews with people who are like asylum seeking, or they don't understand what they mean by Free Palestine, don't understand what they mean by Black Lives Matter. Like, often these channels are biased in who they speak to. They're biased in the edit of it. Some of them will claim they're not. You can completely flip that. There were countless. I could easily go to a right-leaning march or United Kingdom, whatever else, and ask them to name 3 reform policies, for example, and no one has a fucking clue what a reform policy is. The only seemingly known reform policy is get immigrants out. Like that, I could have this. I could have the same thing. I could turn around and go, why?
I've seen videos like
why
that.
are you here beyond the fact that you want brown people out of the country, right? And they won't know. The thing with the asylum seeking idea is, ideologically, a lot of people will, and you're right, impulsively side with the act of openness and acceptance rather than exclusion. They may not know the ins and outs, sure, but, like, I've not seen a good faith discussion about that from a lot of these channels that go around and interview people on the street. I've not seen it in good faith. When they don't talk to those people, it upsets me. I'm very much open to the discussion, but I have to be clear, right, that there's always going to be proportions of movements that will reflect badly on the entire movement. I can't sit here and say that people are only aligning themselves with Free Palestine and BLM because they're trying to find something in the space of, like, faith or God. There is a real life implication or reason as to why these things happened. Like, BLM stemmed from the abuse of police power, right? And what I think to be, like, some form of, like, corporate or what's it, state murder, right? Like, regardless of what people's beliefs are of the person, no police officer should be murdering anybody.
But they don't investigate the actual Black Lives Matter organisation.
Sure, and
that's very
it was corrupt.
Murky.
Yeah, it's corrupt. Yeah, it's fine. But I'm saying that, like, the statement before you get into how capitalism can corrupt organisations, which is that's not a left specific thing. That's amongst all. I mean, we're dealing with.
Well, Adam Smith didn't like it either, who was one of the founders.
Right.
Oligopoly.
And so, as I'm saying that, like, just think of this, like, what is the opposition to the stance of Black Lives Matter? That's like a pretty moderate stance on the world, based off of like a selection of quite extreme circumstances. The irony for me is the George Floyd situation wasn't even the worst like form of the Black Lives Matter protest. I was at the 2016 one where there had been about 7 or 8 successive murders by the police on video, right? One guy at a gas station literally executed. Another guy shot 7 times in the back while he was running away. Like, there was loads of these videos.
You don't know the backing story of these examples.
I know that police shouldn't be murdering people who aren't trying to kill them.
I agree, but
that's
were
it.
they trying to kill them?
No.
Were they putting
The guy
other
was
people's
running
lives
away.
in
I just said
danger?
it. The guy's running away. In the gas station, the police officer was on top of the man. He didn't have a gun on his hand, and he shot him in the head. Like, these are videos that are accessible. My point I'm trying to say is that, like, yes, the most recent wave of it seems like this wild whatever, but the basis of these feelings isn't because, oh, I'm lacking purpose, what movement can I follow? I think people fundamentally think that, like, any unfairness or asymmetrical, like, warfare, as it was, so i.e. the police and a community, they stand against it. Free Palestine, sure, some people might be like, yeah, free Palestine because it's cool, but ultimately, bro, there's a genocide happening in the Middle East, and children are being killed in total asymmetrical warfare, and people want to stand against that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think it's those movements that are filling the void that moving away from Christianity in the West has left.
You don't think Christians would be free Palestine?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we are tribal animals in that we
like
are
community.
collectives, and we need something to look up to. We need a purpose.
Yeah.
And whereas religion used to be that calling that we used to live for, now that's been taken away, we're lost.
But I think
we need new deities.
I think there's a bit of a misunderstanding about how people were. Of course, people used religion as a way of being able to negotiate their immortality, being able to have a touch point to community, go to church every week. But not everyone was a monk. I think you are landing on something there broadly about the kind of febrile environment that we're living in, where people feel a lack of purpose. People like Jordan and I would say that there's something to do with how the system is being run right now, where a lot of people, not just because of the secularization turning against Christianity, which is one part of it, but there's something deeper, that people are losing a sense of their ultimate, like, what's my destination? Who's the person I'm trying to be? How do I even make my living standards improve? Because they've just been declining for the last 15, 20 years. And I don't think you can put that all down to just Christianity. I think that there's forces bigger than that.
You're arguably doing the same thing, right? What's your purpose based off of?
Moving away from religion.
Well, you don't go to church, right?
No.
And you're finding your purpose in, I guess, being politically, like,
No, I've just got an opinion, and I'm happy to share it.
And you're happy to share it.
I don't feel enough people of my generation, certainly on the right, are exercising their voices. Because I actually think this is another point I've been thinking about recently. People seem to attribute the rise of the internet and social media as coming at about the same time, but the internet came up in was it the
late 90s, early 90s?
Late 90s. But social media, I mean, Instagram 2012, TikTok 2016.
No, I think that's the big juncture.
So let's take 2012 Instagram as the yardstick. Since then, I believe populism has been more and more on the rise. You had Trump elected in 2016. You then had Brexit. Trump's happened again. Reform are now topping the polls. Is there a correlation between free journalism and free voices on social media, i.e. these platforms are now giving everyone a level, a balanced opportunity at talking, and they're showing the truth. And now we're seeing a rise in populism, maybe because it's you guys that are quite brainwashed as non-populists. And
you mean right-leaning populists? Like,
he's a left populist.
I don't know.
Zach Polanski considers himself a populist.
Which is, you're a left populist. I'm the brainwashed.
But I'm a little bit confused on like the actual exact definition of populist.
So populism is, people would describe it as a rhetorical framework. So it's a style of how you do politics, where you have an in-group, which is like the people, versus an out-group, which are the people who are stopping
the opinions of a populist would be.
How would I be brainwashed out of interest? What am I brainwashed by?
Well, I'm saying that I believe now the truth is being set free and defending itself.
But what is the truth, do you mean? What's the truth?
Well, it's just on social media where everyone is given the same voice.
But is everyone being given the same voice? Or are people choosing, maybe intentionally or unintentionally, a thing that they believe to be true?
I can answer this though. It's really boring. It's not fun. Like, the populism hinges itself on fear-mongering. It really does.
But Zach Polanski's a self-proclaimed eco-populist.
Yeah, he is.
And you're a green activist, right?
Yeah. People question him saying that. People question him saying it.
So why would you endorse a populist leader for your party?
I'm not questioning populist leaders. I'm explaining. You just said, with the rise of social media, why is it that populism is suddenly big? And I'm saying the big issue with the left, which is something that Zach is shifting, and even my friend Gary Stevenson is shifting, is that it's easy to get attention as a populist, especially a right-leaning one, because due diligence isn't part of the program. You just have to say something shocking and exciting, and the human the wiring of the human brain has a negative bias. You're more likely, which is why like 90% of the news is fear-mongering that we don't even have to pay attention to. If you look on your phone, they'll probably tell you that there was a earthquake somewhere that's nowhere near your life, or a block of flats that has gone on fire in a distant country. It doesn't matter to us. It doesn't have any effect on you, but they show it because you're likely to go, oh my God, that's crazy. That's how news works. Populism doesn't rely on being like factually accurate in the moment. It relies on saying something that people would be concerned about.
I don't think that's a populist attribute.
Of course it is.
That's just people.
Have you ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect?
I know the name, but no.
Yeah, so this is a really good explanation of the internet, and this is why I'm saying that social media amplifies populism, right? Yeah. So that it's to be fair, it's only one study, but the idea is that there's confidence on the bottom right, and there's competence up there, right? So people who are confident but incompetent, right, are more likely to do something because they're genuinely not, or record something or make a podcast or whatever else, because they aren't intelligent enough to question their own opinion. Once you become competent enough to question what you think, you end up in something called the valley of despair, where you lose confidence because you're doubting what you think. The dream is, back in the day, you would then go and learn and study and read books and potentially write books, and you become something towards like a guru, and then you can lead with confidence and competence. You'd be an expert, right? Social media has ultimately, like you said, killed off experts or due diligence. All you need to do is be confident enough to press record and deliver something that will amass attention.
Okay, so how is that a populist thing?
Because my argument is, the left have suffered from the reality that they want to maintain this level of due diligence, and they question their own thoughts a lot, and they don't want to step out and say the wrong thing, and the right have revelled in that. Because
is that why the BBC have just been done for the Trump
for Dr.
Trump scandal? Dr. Trump
panorama scandal. So this what happened here was just to explain what happened. So it was a speech about January 6th, and they cut it without using a dip to white to signify that it was two different parts of the speech. So it looked like one continuous argument, which made him seem like he was making an argument.
He was inciting
violence when he wasn't.
We will fight. We will storm the Capitol.
What's got to do with what I just said?
Because I'm saying Trump is a populist. Is a populist on the right, and the BBC, in my opinion, for what it's worth, are very left-leaning. So it's
BBC are left-leaning.
Yeah, I know. I
don't
understand
the BBC are right-wing, don't you?
But all right, no, but
everyone thinks the BBC is a dickhead. Like everyone does.
Probably doing a good job then.
Yeah, amen to that.
I said it.
But the victim here is Trump, a right-leaning populist, and he's now been painted out to the average Joe to being something and saying something he didn't. So how are you saying that the left are the ones with the moral high ground here?
I didn't say moral high ground. I said
that's what you're implying.
No, what I imply is that it's harder to deliver a statement nowadays with social media that has been well thought out and fact checked, right? If your value set in life is to get it 100% right, it's harder, and I think that seems to be more of a trend on the left than the right. For example, if you used to say we'd vote reform, like I said, I asked you the question, you smiled when I asked it. What are reform's policies?
Okay, they want to scrap net zero by 2050, saving £30 billion.
Okay, I mean, they say that it's
not carry on.
They want to
anti-environment, which is very Christian, isn't it?
It's not anti-environment, really.
Okay, sure. All right.
Let's say electric cars, they're not very eco-friendly, if you ask me. And that's
what?
Electric cars.
How are they not eco-friendly? But because of the lithium battery that made them?
Yeah, well, actually, in the Congo, to bring it back to
Yeah, of
Leopold.
course.
Lithium is a big industry, I believe, in the Congo.
Yeah,
but
of
in
course
that
it is.
region,
No, you're right.
and
The sourcing of the batteries.
A lot of the workers there are slaves.
Sure. I mean, this is the same. By the way, this is the same for loads of things.
The batteries they go straight into landfill. The cars don't last as long. They're heavier, so bad for roads. There's a lot of reasons.
Okay, the carbon offset from an electric vehicle is balanced out in 2 years of usage. That just.
No, I think efficiency wise, I think.
No, the lithium
efficiency-wise, diesel cars are actually very...
No, diesel is the most damaging to the environment. You can drive for longer in them, but it's damaging. But my point is, I hear what you're saying, but I don't think electric cars are... I think to say electric cars are bad for the environment is
Do you really think that they're going to save 30 billion through anti-net zero measures?
That's what they've worked out.
Can we just do more policy? Sorry, the Greens advocate for a wealth tax.
No, but if you
you're right.
tax the rich, the world is a big place, Jordan, and no longer
it's not just the rich, it's the ultra
billionaires
rich.
or millionaires geographically attached to this country. They can go and live in Dubai because they're making their money online. You can be anywhere in the world. That's why all of our best and brightest are fleeing to Indonesia, Dubai, America. It does.
It doesn't. They own streets.
It does because they okay.
But assets are financialized. So if you have an asset like a stock, for instance, I think one of the fundamental misconceptions around the wealth tax is that people assume that the way that they own wealth, i.e., assets, their home, the most expensive thing that they own, is how rich people have wealth. As we both know, we've met super rich people. They've got bare homes everywhere. So they have one place in London, they have a place in New York, they have a place in Paris.
The idea is you just tax the shit that's here.
So you would be able to tax the house, sure, but everything else, all those other assets, you wouldn't be able to tax.
Even little things like lifestyle choice. If they go out for dinner, that's money in our economy being spent to our restaurateurs.
Well, the rich people.
Yeah, if the rich people would buy expensive clothes, cars, food, and all of that money just from them being in this country. That is money going into our system.
Do you not think, George, that was basically the thesis that was put forward in the 80s with the advent of neoliberalism, and it didn't trickle down?
Because that's the point. If you're putting the power with
the whole idea was we would cut taxes, we would privatise, we would sell things, assets off.
You'd empower the wealthy.
And the result of that would be there would be more economy in our systems, and that there would be a rising tide that would lift everyone off. But we haven't seen a rise in living standards since the 80s.
The world's changed since the 80s. It's a lot more competitive now because most money is probably made, I don't know if this is true, but most money, I reckon, is made online. So you don't need to be here anymore. It's not a retail economy.
But if most money is made on... So why did the economy grow from where we were 100, 200 years ago to where we are now? Is it how did that grow? Did we make real things, or did we do financial speculation?
Well, it was, I think, the fact that we're so much more willing to get into debt now is one thing. I mean, look at Black Friday. I think they said 85% of all transactions on Black Friday in America were on credit cards.
Sure. I'm not negating.
So I think but also industry and manufacturing rose in the early 20th
exactly.
century.
And so what happened to our manufacturing base, precisely because of the philosophy that you're putting forward around the nature of capital flows, was that creating things stopped happening, making things stopped happening.
In this country,
but also across the developed world. The financialization of the economy, rentierism, making money off money, has clearly exploded, and is part of the reason why the financial crash happened in 2008, because so much speculation was being made on things that weren't even real, just for the upside of it'll make us more money on paper, that people eventually they had to pop the bubble, and they realised that all of these things were bullshit. Like, you've seen The Big Short.
Economically, Daniel Priestley actually had a debate with Gary Stevenson.
Diary of a CEO,
yeah, he's been on there a few times. But
that wasn't conclusive, though. It wasn't conclusive. In my opinion, it wasn't conclusive.
Well, I think Daniel Priestley's got his head screwed on, and I think he's a good guy, and I think he's got this country's best interests at heart. Because that's what I want. I want this country to be as best as it can be.
Yeah, me too.
So does Gary. For the record.
Yeah, good, as we all should. But sadly, I don't think many current politicians do. Anyway,
right.
I think Nigel Farage does to
want the best for the country.
Extent. Yeah.
Are you pro-Brexit?
Yeah. Because I think...
How does that work economically?
Jordan, the thing is... Brexit was the perfect scapegoat for you lot, or whoever, the globalists.
How's it a scapegoat?
Because it's now... Why is this or that bad?
Yeah, why have the promises not been delivered? Yeah.
When you've got Theresa May, who voted Remain, steering the ship out of the EU, of course it's going to be sabotage.
Did you think...
They don't want it to work.
Wait, hold on. Whoa. Theresa May had a deal that we voted down, which was ostensibly better for the economy than the no-deal Brexit that Boris Johnson brokered.
Yeah.
Well, for starters, I don't think Boris Johnson was even.
He won prime minister. He won that space on the basis of a hard Brexit. That was what won him that vote.
Yeah, but we didn't get a no-deal Brexit. So it's,
we got one of the hardest Brexits possible.
But
I
don't think Boris was even a Brexiteer at heart, because prior to joining the Leave campaign, he wrote articles saying we need to stay in the EU.
He wrote one article saying here's the case for Remain and here's the one to leave. And then he was like,
him with a barge pole. And that's what I find upsetting. And that's why I think, why not give someone like Farage a chance who truly believes in Brexit to try and make the most of it?
Do you not think...
Surely you guys should be on board with that, because you want the best for the country, remember?
No, I do want the best for the country. I'll be clear about this, I fundamentally dislike Nigel Farage, not only because of his economic policy, but because of the context of him, right? I'm not going to go down the route of like lambasting somebody purely for things that have happened in the past, but I take it into account, that's for sure. And all I've seen is 13 years this person spent taking us out of the European Union, and the response is like almost an obliteration of our immediate economy. And then on top of that, he's then on both occasions leveraged some of the most powerless people in our society and utilised that in order to gain power. The fact that he's put us in this position ultimately and then gone, I can get us out of this shit. Brother, you put us in this shit. Why would I elect the person who influenced us into this shit to then...
So you would agree that Brexit's been a disaster? You would agree that you would agree it's been a disaster.
Do you think
5% loss in GDP? That's a bit of a disaster.
The thing is, all of Europe are suffering economically right now. It's not just us. So how are you blaming Brexit for that? Because Germany and France, who are also in the EU, are stagnant.
I'm blaming Brexit for that because it's damaged our economy.
No, but I don't think it's Brexit. I think it's largely COVID that didn't do any help. But how can you explain a lot of the other European powers suffering economically?
But hold on,
they're still in the EU.
George, on that EU comparison, I think you would agree with me. We have a real issue in this country about long-term sickness. People our age getting signed off on mental health. I'm not a big fan of it. Look, why is it that the British population post-COVID has had lower levels of productivity, more people signed off sick than any of those EU countries?
Boy, the
EU's rebounded post-COVID better than we have.
I just don't think. I think restriction of movement and restriction of like opportunity in our neighbouring continent is just wild to me. I honestly mean,
not access to their market is the most mental.
There have been benefits to leaving the EU. Look at the COVID vaccine. Ours was able to be approved sooner than I believe any country in the world, but certainly any country in the EU.
Who made the argument?
Because of the bureaucracy. There's so many so much red tape and regulation. It's so difficult to get things like a COVID vaccine, as an example, approved when you've got to deal with people in Brussels. Who are they to tell us here we're big enough and ugly enough to manage ourselves, aren't we?
We're not.
Why do we need them in Brussels telling us what we can and can't do? Bugger off.
We're clearly not.
But also,
we're Great Britain, Jordan. We don't need Ursula von der Leyen to tell us what we can and can't do.
Boss, listen.
Who are you?
I
like Ursula.
I love the kind of empirical trickle down you have. The empire was a long time ago. There are consequences to that. We're basically just like America's little brother now.
Yeah, and that's wrong.
Well, a big part of that is because we have no leverage or power elsewhere, because we've chose to disconnect from an immediate community nearby
that we don't need.
But you can be in something and democratically shift policy, which is, look, a lot of people were critical on the European Union. That's okay to be critical of it. The response to be like, we're Great Britain in our tiny little island, leave it, and then be instantly damaged and it falling on the shoulders of the most vulnerable in our community. That doesn't make any sense to me.
But I think with someone who truly believes in Brexit, like Farage, to take us out of the EU more properly, then it could be a success.
Do you think Farage is reflective of the everyday man in Britain?
More so than any other party leader right now, I'd say.
Why?
Because he has lived a proper career outside of politics. He used to work in the finance sector, so he's got real world knowledge.
That's a proper career. Well, Keir Starmer was a humanitarian lawyer.
Yeah, but I think that Farage has a better handle on
economics.
Well, to a degree, better than Rachel Reeves. It's not saying much. I think I do, but he just
had a job. So first, you saying he had a job?
Well, yeah, that's one thing. But the fact that so many people feel that he's relatable speaks volumes.
How? How is he relatable?
Just the way he is. Like his sense of humour and what he likes to do in his free time.
What does he like to do in his free time?
He
drinks.
He could go to a pub up in blooming Sunderland and be respected and have a normal conversation with a decent person who and he can hold a conversation. Keir Starmer, he can't. Zach Polansky, I don't think he can.
Zach Polansky 100% can. Zach Polansky was literally just in the northeast, that's sitting and speaking and engaging with whole communities. Of course, Zach Polansky's literally working class. Like, he literally came from nothing. Nigel Farage did not come from nothing. He went to Dulwich College.
He did, but
like,
again, I don't think that.
What?
That comes at a compromise to who he is. Just because someone went to Eton as well. A lot of people who went to Eton get stick.
It's not very relatable. It's not relatable.
That's not relatable.
And I say that as someone who went to a private school. So it's definitely
you
not
get taught how to be Prime Minister at Eton. Did that happen to you at your school?
No.
Right.
But I don't think just because someone went to Eton or Dulwich, then they should be looked upon...
It's not frowned upon. It's just the reality of that situation is you are treated in a certain way, and that is an elitist way. You're literally emboldened with the belief that your decisions and your outlook on life is more important and better than the majority of the population. That's literally
not necessarily a bad thing, though.
Okay, so you actually believe we're in a ruling class.
It's a bit like manifesting something. You will be Prime Minister one day, Jordan. Come on, think it.
But not everyone can do that.
That's what you're saying they're doing there. That's not a big problem. With that.
But the argument would be
it's good to have goals.
Argument would be you've said that Nigel Farage is relatable because he had a job in the financial sector. And
that's not why he's relatable. That's why he's a better candidate.
Okay, so relatable because you can go to the pub.
Partly,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that, like, there are other people. If we're going to use Zach as an example, right? I'm not trying to convert you to Greens, but I'm just as an example. Is interesting. Is that it's interesting. No, but if we're on this point, he has literally lived and existed in the society that he wants to change. The issue with politicians is that they have. Nigel Farage has never struggled in a working class context ever. Let's be clear about that.
I don't know his life story, so I can't.
Well, boss, if you go to Dulwich College, boss,
he didn't come from
doesn't matter.
It does matter.
So you think anyone who's rich can't then lose it
for
all?
what?
Do you think someone who's a millionaire can't lose it all?
Yeah, of course you can.
Well, then he might have fallen on hard times one day. But for the record, I actually think
I'm baffled by that.
You could say Farage is the best of a bad bunch. I think they're all a load of rubbish, to be honest, including Polansky.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree? Well,
no, of course I don't agree.
Because I'd find certain
literally why
discrepancies with certain policies of his. He wants to raise the minimum wage to £15 an hour.
No, I think that's.
Is that right?
Well, Labour just raised the minimum wage.
Yeah,
twice.
Yeah.
But Polansky is in favour of that. He wants to raise the minimum wage.
What, so people get paid more?
Yeah. Do you think that's a good thing?
Yeah.
But I think that plays into the hands of globalists. Because my gripe isn't left versus right. It's actually populists versus globalists. That's the true.
But what do you mean by globalists?
Well, globalists is the antithesis of populism. So they believe in big business. They're all one melting pot of people and culture. There's nothing to distinguish us.
You don't think Nigel Farage believes in big business? He got a £9 million donation today from a crypto. It's the single largest donation in the history of British politics.
What Reform stands for are small businesses, because they're the backbone of...
Crypto billionaire.
They want to support small businesses. They want to support the nuclear family, the education system, bringing it back to British values. They know they've got a handle on what it means to be British.
What do you think educational system
back
is
to
now?
the Polansky thing. So if you want to raise the minimum wage, that's a globalist policy, because what you're doing is you're preventing small businesses from supporting more employees because it's just too expensive. They can't absorb that cost. So that means what happens? The small businesses go under, and it's the big businesses, the big corporations in America that don't pay tax here a lot of the time, which is another problem in and of itself. But it's those guys who absorb that. The small business
on multinationals, I think we all agree that big multinational corporations who are able to outcompete smaller businesses by undercutting them is a fundamentally massive problem with globalization. Completely agree with you. The idea, to me, is boggling that you think that Farage is fundamentally against the idea of big corporations.
I think he's a populist.
Big hedge funds, big money being able to run our economy.
Honestly, I think he's a career politician.
I think he wants to make us the United States.
He's just a career politician.
Why else does he show up
to a degree?
All
He's got to play
stuff?
the game. I think crypto is a thriving industry and will probably define a lot of the 21st century's economy.
The reason why this conversation is even picking up any steam, the reason why people listen to Gary, the reason why there's the discussion around that Polansky's politics is because the accumulation of wealth in this country is absolutely despicable, George. I really mean it, bro. Like, I do well by everyday standards. Yeah, I'm considered rich by a lot of people. I've been in rooms and spoken to people. It is you literally cannot spend the amount of money these people have. You literally, Rishi Sunak would have
but they don't
made
have it in the bank,
bro. They do. They literally do.
But why would you have why would you have £1 million liquid? That's stupid.
Right? Yeah, I know. So George, this is my point, bro. Like there are people who are making passively hundreds of thousands, like £400,000 a year on the wealth they have in a bank because it gets lent out, it gets turned into other people. Yeah. This is the reality of why the country is as it is. This is why people are challenging it, bro.
Are some super rich
I know what
people
you're saying. You're saying
liquid.
some people are leveraging companies that's all stuck in bonds. I'm sure the rich people will say that to try and distract you. At the same time, there are masses of people who have you. Of course, why wouldn't you?
But also, Jordan, I think like one of the green policies is to introduce a 1% wealth tax, right?
Sure. On over a certain amount of money, by the way, which is
but I don't believe
over
in
10
that's
million.
unrealised gains. 10 million.
Okay.
So they might have a £10 million house, and they've got to sell it to pay a blooming tax. Why would you want to stay in this country?
Got to sell it.
You do if you don't have the money liquid. But
anyway,
that's
a discussion about aristocracy. Sorry, I'm just saying.
I believe in meritocracy. That means if I work hard,
then you should agree with it.
I want to be rewarded for my hard work. So if I work my arse off all my life to get rich, and then all of a sudden your mate gets in power and taxes me for what I've achieved because I was ballsy enough to take the risk and make money because I'm entrepreneurial, I shouldn't be punished for that. Okay. So I'm going to fuck off to Dubai or something because they treat me with respect.
That's unpatriotic.
Can I?
And I wouldn't. But no, I'm talking from these people's point of view. They wouldn't stay here. They go to Dubai.
Do you think everybody with £10 million houses has worked for those houses?
Not everybody,
right.
But even if it was their dad, it doesn't matter.
Their dad literally does. It's literally the opposite of what you just said.
That's not meritocratic.
No, because
that's not meritocratic.
If I work hard and then I have a little Georgie boy baby, I want him to inherit my hard work. Jordan, here's a little fact for you, and this is true. Before you try and fact check me, 1% of the wealthiest 1% of people pay 29% of the income tax. So that means it doesn't take a lot of people at all to completely collapse the tax base. And who suffers then? The working class. Because there's less tax to fund public services and these working class.
Yeah, I understand it.
George, I'm on the left.
He's with you.
I'm on the left, and I've made that point on LBC. Under the Tories, no one speaks about this. They actually made the tax base more progressive. So it went from about 26% to now basically circa 30% on income tax at the top 1% pays. So fundamentally, there is clearly a problem here that the UK has to negotiate globally around wealth inequality and how you deal with it. But Jordan and I do agree as well that you cannot say when there's stagnating, even declining living standards for the rest of us, that with the super rich getting inordinately wealthy and being unable to tax them whatsoever, these guys, as Jordan said, they have more money than they'd be able to spend in their lifetime. It's literally impossible. It's clearly not fair. Like, it's just fundamentally not fair.
George, I don't believe they've got that money sitting in an account doing nothing. I think they would invest it because it's stupid to leave money in a savings account because of inflation is going through.
I'm not saying
I've been stung by inflation.
Sure, unrealised gains, sure, there is a distinction there. But the fact is, even those people's paper wealth, were they to realise it, it would be that much money, and that money. $1 billion to $1 million. The difference
I don't believe in that. There should be any billionaires. There should be no billionaires.
No, but like it's really hard for people. A million seconds back is like, I don't know, like what is it, like a few years ago?
A million seconds is 11 days. No, is 31 days.
Yeah,
and a billion is like 31 years. 31 years.
Come on, bro. That is inordinately different.
No one has $1 billion in their bank account.
I understand what you mean, but the idea is it's $1 billion that people can't access.
But the idea that people should even have that much in paper wealth is telling you something fundamentally is broken with our system. Our system is producing more billionaires than ever before, but at the same time, working classes all across the developed world have stagnant living standards, maybe even declining.
But you saying there shouldn't be billionaires in existence, that is unmeritocratic. Because if I work hard, if I create the cure for cancer, I deserve to be a billionaire.
I think. But you won't be.
Not with your mate in power.
No, because that's not what we reward in this system. I'd love that.
Can I make a point?
Sorry, just out of interest, you think to the person, like the person who would create the cure for cancer, they'd be the ones who would end up being rewarded for that the most, not the drug companies who. Okay.
Not Pfizer. But can I make a point quickly? Can I make a point? Can I make a point quickly?
But I'm saying.
Can I make a point quickly about meritocracy, which is that? Have you read Michael Sandel's book, The Tyranny of Merit?
No.
He's a philosopher. I think he was emeritus professor of philosophy at Harvard. Sandel's argument is that the way in which we talk about meritocracy is that hard work plus talent equals desert. You know, you deserve what you get, right? And that's the argument that you made. But there's two things that are clearly clear about the system that we live in now, which is that talent is distributed randomly. Some people have it, some people don't. And the story that we tell in meritocracy is that if somebody does not make it, it's purely their fault because they've either not got talent, which they don't have any control over, or they've not worked hard enough. And that's just not fundamentally, to me, it's like clearly not
fair.
true. It's not true.
We don't financially reward who I believe to be some of the most important members of our society and community. Like I say, you talk about people going into the city. People can go into the city, essentially be gambling addicts, ultimately taking risks, and if they get it right, they end up with bonuses people can dream of. I know people who have worked hard for 50, 60 years, and they have a tiny house to show for it. You think hard work equals like a fair?
No, but that's a question of smart work, because yes, I can bust a gut.
You need communities to thrive.
Wiping floors in schools as a cleaner.
Yes.
For 50 years.
Yes.
And
you should be rewarded for it.
No, but I do think it's survival
Who's
of the
going to
fittest
clean your
type
school?
thing.
Oh, that's okay. Well, then that's a whole other thing. So you're happy for people to suffer because whatever they've chosen to do.
I think they deserve a comfortable life, but they don't deserve to be a billionaire for cleaning a school floor.
Boss, if I was builders in our society, for example, literally building buildings, right? And then people will go into those buildings who are gambling addicts, make a few things, will earn more than they could ever dream of. That kind of inequality to me is mental.
Yeah, and I agree. I don't think it's
service.
right, but that's just the way of the world, Jordan.
Yeah, and we're trying to change that. That's the point.
But
you can balance it more.
Being a builder, it's a lot easier to be a builder or a cleaner than to be an AI agent or whatever. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but
if I'm to create the new Facebook like Mark Zuckerberg, that takes a lot of hard work and skill
of a group of people.
And whether or not he deserves to have endless billions in the bank, that's another matter.
I just want to go back to a point that I think Jordan. By the way, can I just say, heated discussion.
I think it was good,
but good.
I don't know. How
you enjoying it?
How do you feel?
No, I enjoyed it. Yeah, I think you've been fair as well, so I appreciate that.
Robust, and like the thing about it is people should have conversations like this fundamentally. But I think one thing that I just wanted to land in this interview that we didn't really get too into it, but I really respect that you have this sense of I'm going to say what I think and come what may. But also I wouldn't turn your head off, and this might sound like a complete vibe shift, but to the idea of relationships and connections and stuff like that, because fundamentally you're a young man, and I think that it's really important that not just that you pursue your career goals and your purpose, which is obviously really important to you, but make sure that you're still surrounded by people who support you, that you build connections with, that you feel loved and you feel supported. I really just wanted to make sure that we said that to you in this interview, because it's
wise words. I take it on
board.
If the right woman came about for me now, I'd lean into it. But the less you seek, the more you find. And I think if I try and pursue it, get on all these dating apps, chances are I probably won't find the right person.
What do you think your purpose is?
Well, my mission is to restore national identity.
Okay.
I think we are more divided than ever before in this country.
Mm-hmm.
There's numerous reasons for that. Primarily, in my opinion, multiculturalism has...
You're anti-multiculturalism?
No, I just think it has been a net negative on our society because it's sparked division. I think that's the root of all division in this country. But anyway, that's a big discussion in and of itself. I think if
you understand why we have multiculturalism, though, right? Like we had like colonies all over the world and then invited them to the country.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think it was essential.
I'm just saying it was to rebuild the country after the Second World War.
If you disagree, that's your prerogative.
No, but I'm just saying they're invited us to help build the country.
I want us all to feel more British, and to do that, we need to get a handle on what it means to be British values, on coexisting with everyone regardless of our views, and that's why podcasts like this, hats off to you. But I think if we reignite national identity to this country, which I think is down the drain, to be frank. I don't think anyone is proud to be British these days, and I think it's a shame. We've given so much to the world. If you look at literature, there's Shakespeare, Austen, the Bronte sisters. Medicine, there's Alexander Fleming saving millions of lives. Engineering, music.
Bukayo Saka, legend.
Yeah, well, he's a bit rubbish. Arsenal are rubbish.
Who do you support?
Man United, typical Sunday.
Okay, Arsenal
Let's not.
We should have beaten you on the first game.
Yeah, right,
anyway,
right.
we've given so much to this world.
Football.
We need to be proud.
We gave football to the world.
Golf,
No,
tennis,
fuck off.
cricket,
That was invented in
rugby.
Brazil. Don't let people lie to you.
We gave
We gave it the rules.
We gave the offside rule.
We didn't even kick in a ball. We
Well,
didn't even
it is
kick
a
in a
bit of
ball.
trivia. Apparently, we invented the term soccer. We exported that to the US, and it was the Europeans that called it football. We then, as a sheep, we took it on as football, left the Americans out in the cold.
Soccer.
So soccer is our term.
That's
But
hilarious.
anyway, we've given so much to this world. We need to be proud. And right now, on my YouTube channel, check it out. It's just George Gilbert. But I've got a podcast called George Gilbert's Melting Pot. If you want to have a gander, I fear that a lot of your viewers won't want to. But there
I've
you go.
got right-wing viewers, bro. Don't stress.
I don't know.
I've got right-wing
But yeah,
viewers.
so that's what I'm aiming to do now. Whether I need more authority, more power to achieve that, i.e., will I move into politics more seriously in the coming years? Maybe 4 years is a long time.
Controversy around like flags, for example, right? Like
Raise
I
the
believe
flags.
that myself and again a lot of my Wokie, what do you call it, Wokie friends, like we got no issue with the Union with the St George's flag or the Union Jack at all. In fact, for a lot of our childhood, we'd grow up and see it worn in music, you know, and thrown
Cool
around.
Britannia?
But the context again in which there was a feeling attached to it is what was the pushback. But when we go into our echo chambers, it seems like a total dismissal of it, and then a total rejection of these wokies who won't let us even like our flag. And so what I would like is an idea of, for me, and I'd love to hear what you think about this, I know we're running out of time, but you are fascinating in this regard, is that like I'm open to British national identity if it includes an understanding of how Britain came to be how it is. I think that for me is the crux of the issue from both sides. I feel like from the right-leaning side, the thing to other people who've been part of colonies or are for example, like my last name Stevens is a slave name. I wasn't, you know, that I don't know what my ancestral name would have been. My parents are my grandparents, great-grandparents in the Caribbean. It was a British colony. Guyana is the thing. So they all grew up as royalists. They were taught to love the Queen and whatever else. They came over to England, were racially abused. Like, it's just a reality of the thing. It's very confusing and conflicting. So technically, when they were born in Guyana, it's a Caribbean part, technically in South America, they thought they were British. In fact, they were legally British.
They were. Right? They're British subjects.
Legally British. They're part of the colony. What's confusing is when I hear people on the right use other countries as an example, like, you know, can you be a black person born in China and say you're Chinese? Or people will say like, can you go, the Polish have da-da-da-da. In all these contexts, there isn't an immediate trace to loads of other countries that were either Polish or Chinese that told those people that they were of the Polish or Chinese citizenship.
I think the Caribbean culture is brilliant. I think the Polish culture is brilliant. The Italian culture, I love them all.
Yeah.
But if you've got an Italian or a Pole or someone from the Caribbean in this country, they can go back to wherever they originate from and embracing their culture and, you know, really celebrate it. But me, I'm ethnically and wholly British for my sins. If my culture in this country is watered down because of multiculturalism, where can I go?
I would say I'm English.
Yeah.
I'm not ethnically English, but I don't think that that's meaningful way of representing what I mean. And when I say I am English, in your eyes, am I English? I'm born here, bred here. I don't know anything but being English.
Yeah. Well, from what I know of you, you seem English. You know, you value freedom of speech.
I'm not ethnically
English.
I'm
not saying your passport.
No, you're talking. Listen, let's say elephant in the room is you're talking about assimilation. Like you're into people who can adopt British customs in order to blend into British society.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Like I feel the values you represent. That seems very British to me. You sound like, you know, if I had a blindfold on, because I don't believe.
Do you think British people do that when they go out when they go elsewhere?
What, as in judge you?
No, do you think British people assimilate into the cultures that they go to?
In many cases, yes.
Tenerife?
If you do move to, if you are a millionaire, if you are
a British colony,
if you're a millionaire and you want to go to Dubai to not get taxed, is your girlfriend going to wear a hijab?
Are you praying 5 times a day?
Well, it's not that's not contingent upon being in Dubai.
It's a theocracy.
Okay, so
it's not
contingent. I don't think they would, but I don't think they
should
have to, because when you got people of that culture coming here, often they don't assimilate as much as that. So, you know, an eye for an eye.
Okay, so
it works both ways.
Okay, fine.
And
so then what would the issue be then with a Muslim in this country?
I don't have problems with Muslims in this country.
Okay, cool.
I'm just saying, if you're in this country...
You've got to practice what you preach, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, in this country, the more Polish supermarkets, Jamaican restaurants, mosques, synagogues that we have in this country, if they don't feel wholly British and then they breed a kind of enclave in that community of a certain type of people who then don't assimilate or don't even integrate because they don't feel like they're in Britain, they feel like they're in their community, that's when national identity is fragmented, and that's something we need to solve. I don't mind a little bit of it, but too much, and I think we're getting to that point. That's when it gets bad.
Yeah, we've got to cut it down now, which is annoying because there's other things I want to talk about. But I think Britain has a lot of Britishness still. Me too. I have roast every Sunday. The pubs. If the reason why pubs are struggling is definitely not to do with multiculturalism. It's to do with the economic stance, the state of the country.
Largely.
The NHS.
Polanski won't be helping. I might add.
Okay. The NHS, of course, you have to acknowledge a large part of the reason why it's even still running is because of immigration and because of
social
people
care.
who have come from the what was previously the empire.
A large proportion of the patients are from an immigrant background, though. So
again, depends on
not
where.
That big. Not that big. I mean, country's still 85% white. Anyway, look, let's wrap it. Look,
we should have a part 2. I find it interesting, man. How do you feel about it? Do you feel like you've come?
I think you guys have been fair. You didn't try and ambush me like I thought you might.
Oh, right, okay.
But yeah, I mean, I thought we had a great conversation. I'd be happy to come again if you.
Yeah, of course, but much appreciated, George. Thank you very much.
Just to clarify, you on Andrew Gold, you clarified that you're not anti-trans and you're not anti-gay.
No.
Good.
Cool.
Thank you.
Sign off.
Nothing I said in the house was anti-trans or anti-gay either.
Cool.
But people love painting me that way.
I just wanted to say it because that's how it should be.